For millennia, the Earth has quietly held on to its secrets, ancient, silent monuments that defy the understanding of modern science. From remote caves to vast deserts, lost structures are emerging from the shadows, hinting at civilizations far more advanced than we've ever imagined. What knowledge did these forgotten peoples possess, and why was it buried in the sands of time? Could their innovations hold the key to unlocking mysteries we've long overlooked? Join us as we journey into the heart of the unknown, where history's most elusive structures may offer us answers or raise even more questions. On a small, windswept island in the Gulf of Morbihan, off the coast of Brittany, France, lies a monument that has fascinated historians, archaeologists, and explorers for centuries. The island of Gavrinis is home to one of the most mysterious and ancient sites in Europe, a megalithic cairn that has stood the test of time, holding its secrets deep within the stone walls of a passage tomb. Gavrinis is a place where time seems to stretch and bend, as though the island itself is a bridge between the ancient and the unknowable. The monument is thought to have been constructed around 3,500 BCE, long before the pyramids of Egypt or Stonehenge in England. But unlike the well-known stone circles or burial mounds of the period, Gavrinis is something far more intricate, more enigmatic. The tomb is not just a structure, it is a work of art, a testament to the sophistication of its creators. Accessed by a narrow passageway, the tomb opens into a vast chamber, its walls adorned with a bewildering array of carvings. Geometric patterns, spirals, and motifs that resemble axes, crescents, and even stylized representations of human forms cover the stones in a manner that seems both purposeful and deeply symbolic. These carvings are so precise, so deliberate, that they suggest a level of artistry and knowledge that challenges our understanding of prehistoric societies. While the purpose of these symbols remains unclear, they clearly held meaning to those who created them. Were they representations of celestial bodies, perhaps tracing the movement of the stars or mapping the cycles of the moon? Some scholars speculate that they might be connected to rituals related to death and the afterlife, hinting at a belief system far more complex than we can imagine. But still, no definitive answers have emerged. Even today, thousands of years after the tomb was sealed, the symbols remain an enigma, their true significance lost to history. Gavrinis is not alone in its mystery. It is part of a larger complex of megalithic monuments scattered across Brittany and other parts of Europe. But it stands out because of its sheer isolation, its preservation, and the quiet intensity of its carvings. Many believe that the island itself was chosen not only for its strategic position in the landscape, but also for its connection to the forces of nature, sea, wind, and sky. Could the tomb have been intended to align with the heavens, designed to catch the light of the solstices or equinoxes? Or was it, as some theorists suggest, a place of pilgrimage, drawing people to witness celestial events and connect with a higher power? Yet even more questions linger about the tomb's creators. Who were the people behind Gavrinis? We know they were part of the megalithic culture that flourished in this region, but little is known about their daily lives, their social structures, or their motivations for building such a grand and elaborate tomb. Were they members of an elite society, driven by a need to demonstrate their power through monumental architecture? Or were they religious leaders, attempting to mark their connection to the divine? What makes Gavrinis especially intriguing is the possibility that it was not simply a tomb but a tool for understanding the cosmos itself. Some have suggested that the carvings are not only artistic but functional, aligning with lunar and solar cycles in ways that would have been highly significant to a culture steeped in astronomical knowledge. If this theory is true, it would mean that the builders of Gavrinis were not only skilled craftsmen, but also advanced astronomers, capable of reading the skies in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. Yet, as advanced as their techniques may have been, the creators of Gavrinis left no written record, no legend to explain their work. Everything we know about them is based on what they left behind: carvings, stones, and the very location of the tomb itself. This silence has sparked a wealth of speculation, but no one can say for certain what these ancient people intended to communicate. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is why, after centuries of exposure to the elements, the carvings remain as clear and as detailed as the day they were etched into the stone. Was there something about the materials used, or the particular placement of the tomb, that helped preserve these intricate designs? Or could it be that the tomb's designers imbued it with an understanding of the forces of nature, something that allowed their creations to withstand the ravages of time? The question that remains, then, is simple. What are we missing? As the world around us continues to change, as technology advances, we still find ourselves unable to unlock the full meaning of Gavrinis. For all we've learned, we have only scratched the surface of its mystery. And perhaps, just perhaps, there are still answers waiting beneath the stones, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. As we leave behind the windswept shores of Gavrinis, where ancient stone carvings still speak their silent language, we turn our attention to another place where the past has left behind its shadow: Beni Hasan in Egypt. Here, amidst the arid hills of the Nile Valley, a group of rock-cut tombs waits quietly to reveal their own enigmatic story. Located some 250 kilometers south of Cairo, Beni Hasan is a site that has long intrigued archaeologists and historians. It is not as famous as the Valley of the Kings, nor as immediately recognizable as the Great Pyramids, but its significance cannot be overstated. The tombs at Beni Hasan, cut directly into the limestone cliffs, date back to the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, around 2000 BCE, and are believed to have been the burial sites of local nomarchs, provincial governors who held power over the region during Egypt's turbulent period of growth and consolidation. Their tombs, carved from the living rock, are a testament to both their wealth and their status. The tombs are remarkable not only for their sheer size, but for the skill and artistry with which they were constructed. Each one is a massive structure, often consisting of a vertical shaft leading into a series of chambers, all hewn from the cliffside itself. The tombs are fronted by large rectangular facades, which, when viewed from a distance, appear almost like grand entrances to another world. But it's not just the architecture that draws attention. It's the artwork that adorns these tombs, capturing scenes of daily life, hunting expeditions, and offerings to the gods. Yet, despite the impressive craftsmanship, the tombs of Beni Hasan have always carried a sense of quiet mystery. The art within them is beautiful and detailed, but it is also laden with symbolism. Some scenes depict the deceased as if they are watching over their offerings, their eyes fixed on the world beyond the tomb, leading some to wonder if the tombs were intended as much for the living as for the dead. What did the tomb's creators believe about the afterlife, and what role did these elaborate spaces play in ensuring the continued favor of the gods? Was it merely a space for the body, or a doorway into something far more profound? Even more intriguing, however, are the tomb's unusual architectural features. At first glance, Beni Hasan might seem to follow the same formula as other tombs of the time: burial shafts, chambers, and ceremonial carvings. But upon closer inspection, something seems off. The shafts themselves, deep vertical shafts, appear unnaturally precise, cutting through the rock with an almost mechanical precision. It is not the kind of labor one would expect from a culture that, at the time, relied heavily on copper tools and rudimentary construction methods. How were these tombs built with such accuracy? The ancient Egyptians were undeniably skilled, but did they have access to more advanced techniques or tools than we currently know of? Then there are the strange sculptural details found in the tomb's facades, Some scholars have pointed to the peculiar and detailed depictions of human figures and animals, carved with a sense of realism that seems at odds with what we would expect from this period in Egyptian art. Could these features be more than just artistic embellishments? Some have even speculated that the tomb's exterior carvings may represent a symbolic relationship to the heavens or to the gods themselves. In certain tombs, figures are shown engaged in actions that appear to have little to do with the deceased's earthly life, such as elaborate scenes of animal hunts or interactions with gods in otherworldly landscapes. Could these be ritualized representations of a spiritual journey, or was there a deeper, more mysterious connection between the tomb's art and the cosmic forces that the Egyptians worshipped? While the mainstream explanation focuses on the tombs being the final resting places of powerful figures, there are whispers of more speculative theories that challenge this notion. Some have pointed to the alignment of the tombs themselves, suggesting that their placement along the cliffs is not accidental, but rather the result of a deeper cosmological significance. The way the tombs interact with the changing light of the sun at different times of day, or the way certain carvings align with the stars, hints at a possible connection to the ancient Egyptian obsession with celestial bodies. Could these tombs have served not only as burial places, but as sacred observatories, intentionally positioned to track the movements of the heavens? Others have asked whether the tombs at Beni Hasan are evidence of something even older, a tradition passed down from lost civilizations long before Egypt's dynastic rule. Could the methods used to construct the tombs, with their precision and craftsmanship, suggest a lineage of knowledge that predates the Middle Kingdom? There are no concrete answers, but the idea lingers, like a whisper in the wind, that the tombs of Beni Hasan hold clues to a deeper, older understanding of the world. Despite centuries of exploration and excavation, the questions surrounding Beni Hasan remain unresolved. What secrets did the nomarchs and their architects keep hidden in these tombs? Were they more than just wealthy rulers seeking to secure their place in the afterlife? Was there something about the tomb's construction, their artwork, or their alignment that we have yet to fully understand? And perhaps most hauntingly, are there still discoveries to be made, hidden within the walls of these ancient tombs, waiting for the right person to uncover them? As the sun sets over the Nile, casting long shadows across the cliffs of Beni Hasan, one can't help but feel that there is much more to this site than meets the eye. What are we missing? And what could we still discover about this ancient place if we only knew where to look? The mystery remains. As the mysteries of Beni Hasan linger in the shadows of time, we now turn to another ancient structure, one that stands quietly in the lush, rolling hills of Brittany, France. Here, surrounded by dense forests and fields, rests the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, a megalithic structure that has captivated the imaginations of those who venture to this remote part of the world. The dolmen, whose name translates to the dolmen of the fairy rock, carries with it a sense of magic, history, and a lingering sense of the unknown. Hidden in the heart of the French countryside, the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is one of the largest and most impressive megalithic tombs in all of Europe. Standing at over 20 meters in length, this monumental structure is composed of 43 enormous stones, which form a long passage leading to a chamber at the far end. The passageway is flanked by immense vertical stones, their surfaces weathered by centuries of exposure to the elements. Above them, a massive capstone, weighing an estimated 40 tons, rests delicately atop the uprights, an ancient symbol of strength and endurance. The sheer scale of this tomb is awe-inspiring, and it's easy to see why it has drawn the attention of archaeologists and historians for centuries. But despite its size and significance, the dolmen remains shrouded in mystery. Though scholars agree that the structure was built around 4000 BCE, during the late Neolithic period, the purpose of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées remains speculative. It is widely believed to have been a burial site, likely for a prominent individual or a group of important figures. The layout of the tomb, with its long passage and central chamber, bears resemblance to other megalithic tombs across Europe, such as those found in Ireland and Scotland. But the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is unique in its design, and this sets it apart from its counterparts. The size and alignment of the dolmen, combined with the grandeur of its stonework, suggest that it may have had a ritualistic or symbolic function that went beyond mere burial. But what that function was remains uncertain. The word dolmen itself comes from Breton, meaning stone table, a fitting name for a structure that seems to invite speculation about the people who constructed it and the rituals that may have occurred within its stone walls. But this name, so ordinary on the surface, masks a far deeper mystery. The dolmen is a threshold, a passage into another world, whether it was intended to represent the journey to the afterlife, a sacred space to commune with the gods, or something else entirely, we may never fully know. What is perhaps most puzzling about the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is the question of how it was constructed. The stones themselves are immense, some weighing more than 40 tons, and it is no small feat to imagine how ancient people, without the advanced tools and techniques that we possess today, were able to move and place such massive stones with such precision. How were these stones transported to this isolated site? The closest quarries are located several kilometers away, and the terrain between them and the dolmen is anything but easy. Were the builders simply incredibly skilled, or was there a method to their engineering that we've yet to understand? As we attempt to unravel the mystery of the dolmen's construction, we must also consider its cultural context. Who were the people who built this structure? The Neolithic societies of Europe were complex, with their own systems of belief, social hierarchies, and ritual practices. It's possible that the dolmen was a site for communal gatherings, a place where people would come together to honor their dead, or to celebrate astronomical events like solstices or equinoxes. Some theories suggest that the alignment of the dolmen's passageway with certain stars or celestial bodies might point to a deeper understanding of the heavens, suggesting that the builders had a knowledge of astronomy that we have yet to fully grasp. The positioning of the stones in relation to the landscape might indicate a reverence for the natural world, or perhaps a desire to align the structure with sacred sites known only to those who built it. Yet, despite these possibilities, the true significance of the dolmen remains elusive. And then there is the legend that surrounds the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, stories passed down through the generations, mingling history with myth. One of the most enduring tales tells of a group of fairies who, disguised as women, built the dolmen in a single night, using magic to lift the massive stones into place. This myth, though clearly fantastical, is deeply rooted in the cultural fabric of the region and hints at the importance of the dolmen to the people of ancient Brittany. In fact, many of the region's megalithic structures are linked to similar legends, weaving together the sacred and the supernatural in ways that suggest these monuments were more than just physical spaces. They were imbued with deep spiritual significance. Despite the weight of its history, the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées remains a quiet enigma, a testament to the capabilities of the people who built it, but also a reminder of the limitations of our understanding. Was this tomb merely a burial site? Or was it a portal between the earthly and the divine, a place where the living could commune with the spirits of the dead or the gods? Could the builders have had a deeper, more intricate knowledge of the forces of nature, of the stars, or of the world beyond their immediate surroundings? The dolmen, as it stands today, offers us a glimpse into a past that is at once familiar and unfathomable. Its purpose, its construction, and the stories it holds remain elusive, suggesting that there is much more to discover beneath the surface. Perhaps, like so many other ancient structures, the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées holds secrets waiting to be uncovered. If only we could decipher its silent language. As we stand before it, the question remains: What are we still missing? What pieces of the puzzle lie buried beneath the stones, waiting for a new generation to discover? As we leave behind the quiet hills of Brittany and the ancient stones of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, we now turn our gaze to a site that speaks to both the majesty and tragedy of ancient civilizations. Thousands of miles away, in the heart of Syria, lies the ruins of the Temple of Baal, once one of the grandest structures of the ancient world, now standing as a shadow of its former glory, its stones scattered and broken by the ravages of time and conflict. Palmyra, the city where this temple once stood, was a jewel of the ancient Near East, a thriving oasis city along the caravan routes that connected the Roman Empire with the kingdoms of the East. For centuries, it was a cultural and economic hub, its wealth and influence cemented by its strategic position in the desert. Palmyra's temples, colonnades, and arches bore witness to the power and prestige of its rulers. But it is the Temple of Baal, in particular, that stands as a testament to the city's deep religious and cultural significance. The temple, dedicated to Baal, the ancient Semitic storm god, was a monumental structure built during the reign of the Roman Emperor Antoninus Pius in the 2nd century CE. Its design followed the classical Greco-Roman architectural style, but with distinct local touches that reflected Palmyra's unique blend of Eastern and Western influences. At the heart of the temple stood an immense cella, or inner chamber, surrounded by rows of towering columns, each one adorned with intricate carvings and inscriptions. These columns once supported a roof that shielded the sacred space from the harsh desert sun, creating a cool and tranquil environment where rituals were held in honor of Baal. The temple was not just a religious space, but a symbol of Palmyra's power and influence. Baal was considered the patron god of the city, and his temple was a focal point of both civic and religious life. It was in this temple that priests would conduct rituals to ensure the fertility of the land, the safety of travelers, and the prosperity of the city. The temple itself was adorned with depictions of Baal in his various forms, sometimes as a youthful, muscular god wielding the power of storms, at other times as a more serene, regal figure, overseeing the fate of his followers. But for all its grandeur, the Temple of Baal's history is shrouded in mystery. While its purpose as a religious center is clear, the deeper meanings behind its rituals remain elusive. The exact nature of Baal worship and the specific ceremonies conducted within the temple are largely unknown. Some scholars suggest that the temple was a site for agricultural rites, invoking the god's power to ensure bountiful harvests in the harsh desert climate. Others point to evidence of astral worship, with the temple's alignment to the stars and the moon hinting at a possible connection to ancient astronomical knowledge. Was Baal worship simply a reflection of the people's dependence on nature, or was it something more, an attempt to bridge the gap between the human world and the divine? As we explore the temple's ruins, we are confronted with the haunting remnants of what was once a thriving center of worship and power. The columns, though broken and weathered by time, still stand as silent witnesses to the passage of centuries. Inscriptions and carvings on the stones hint at the city's complex religious and political life, but much of it remains undeciphered. What were the true rituals performed within these walls? Were the ceremonies of Baal worship more complex than we can imagine? And perhaps most intriguingly, was the temple's sacred space itself a portal, a place where the people of Palmyra sought communion with forces beyond their understanding, beyond the stars, or beyond the natural world? The temple's mysteries are only deepened by the events that unfolded in recent years. In 2015, during the height of the Syrian civil war, the militant group ISIS captured the city of Palmyra, and in an act of wanton destruction, they destroyed much of the temple, including its iconic central entrance and many of the statues and carvings that adorned it. The destruction of the Temple of Baal sent shockwaves around the world, not only as a tragedy for the people of Syria, but as a loss for humanity's collective cultural heritage. In the wake of the destruction, questions began to arise. Why target a site of such profound significance? What was it about the Temple of Baal that made it such a symbol of power, both for the ancient Palmyrans and for those who would later seek to erase it from history? The ISIS destruction of the temple raised a deeper question. What exactly did the temple represent? Was it simply an object of religious devotion, or was it something more, a symbol of a civilization that, at its peak, was both a beacon of enlightenment and a source of political power? And more fundamentally, what was the true role of Baal in the lives of the people of Palmyra? Even as Palmyra's ruins stand as a symbol of destruction, they also serve as a poignant reminder of the fragility of human history. The question remains, what did the ancient builders of the Temple of Baal know, and how did they view their relationship with the divine? What deeper meanings did the temple's design and rituals hold for them, and what wisdom might we still be able to unlock from its stones? In the aftermath of the temple's destruction, there has been a concerted effort to preserve and reconstruct the remnants of this ancient wonder. Yet, the mystery persists. The rituals and the meanings behind Baal worship remain elusive, and the temple itself, though partially restored, still holds much of its secrets within the cracks of its stones. As we reflect on the Temple of Baal and its place in history, we are left with a question that transcends time. What is it about certain places that makes them sacred? Places that endure across centuries and cultures and whose mysteries continue to elude our understanding. The Temple of Baal may be gone, but its story, its symbols, and the unanswered questions it raises remain, urging us to look deeper into the past to understand a civilization whose knowledge may have been far more complex than we can ever fully comprehend. As we move from the ruins of Palmyra and the lost grandeur of the Temple of Baal, we turn our attention to a more tranquil but equally enigmatic place, hidden amidst the rolling hills of southern England. Here, in the heart of the ancient landscape of the Salisbury Plain, lies West Kennet Long Barrow, one of the largest and most significant Neolithic burial sites in Britain. Unlike the towering columns and grand temples we've encountered, this structure speaks to a more intimate and mysterious chapter of human history. The West Kennet Long Barrow is an imposing structure, its long, low mound of earth rising gently from the surrounding countryside. The site is a tumulus, a type of burial mound, but its scale and construction are remarkable. Stretching nearly 40 meters in length, it is a massive burial chamber built from stone and earth, an ancient structure that dates back over 5,000 years. Its age alone places it in the Neolithic era, when human societies were beginning to shift from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer existence to settled agricultural communities. The Long Barrow stands as a testament to this profound change, marking a period when humans began to develop more permanent ways of living and more permanent ways of remembering the dead. Approaching the site, the sense of history is palpable. The Long Barrow itself, while weathered by centuries of exposure, remains a hauntingly powerful structure. At its heart is a series of chambers, some of which were originally lined with massive stones. These chambers were used for the burial of multiple individuals, and archaeological evidence suggests that the site was revisited over centuries, with successive generations using it as a communal burial ground. The burial practices at West Kennet remain one of the most intriguing aspects of the site. What did the people who built this barrow believe about death, the afterlife, and the continuity of their community? The precise layout of the barrow, with its aligned chambers and carefully arranged stones, suggests that it was a place not only for the dead, but for the living to interact with their ancestors. The chambers, some of which were sealed after burials, appear to have been places where the community could return, revisit their dead, and perform rituals that connected the living with the spirits of those who had passed. The bones of those buried here, some carefully placed, others more haphazardly arranged, speak to a complex understanding of death and the rituals surrounding it. In one chamber, archaeologists found the bones of men, women, and children, along with fragments of pottery and flint tools, items that might have been placed as offerings or to serve the deceased in the afterlife. Yet, despite the wealth of material remains, the deeper significance of the barrow's design and the specific rituals that took place within it remain elusive. While the mainstream interpretation is that the site was primarily a burial ground, the West Kennet Long Barrow seems to suggest much more than a simple resting place for the dead. There is something about its location, its orientation, and its design that hints at a much deeper connection between the people who built it and the natural world around them. The barrow is situated along an ancient trackway, and it's aligned with certain features of the surrounding landscape, including the nearby Silbury Hill, another enigmatic prehistoric structure. Could these alignments suggest that the site was not just a tomb, but also a ceremonial center? Was it, in some way, designed to connect the living with the earth, the heavens, and the eternal cycle of life and death? Beyond its physical layout, West Kennet Long Barrow's connection to the heavens remains one of its most mysterious aspects. Some researchers have suggested that the structure may have been built with celestial alignments in mind, with its entrances or burial chambers potentially corresponding to specific astronomical events, such as solstices or equinoxes. The way the sunlight falls on certain stones during the changing seasons, highlighting particular carvings or casting long shadows, hints at an awareness of celestial cycles that we associate with more advanced cultures. Could the builders of the Long Barrow have been aware of the stars in a way that helped them time their rituals, their planting seasons, or even their burials? The discoveries made at West Kennet also suggest that the site may have been more than just a functional tomb. It may have served as a powerful cultural and spiritual symbol. In the chambers of the Long Barrow, archaeologists found human remains, not just of the wealthy or powerful, but of individuals from different walks of life. The inclusion of so many people in a single burial site speaks to the idea that this was a communal space, a place where society's divisions were, at least temporarily, dissolved. The idea that burial practices might have transcended individual status hints at a belief in a collective spirit, where all members of the community were bound together, both in life and in death. Yet even with these findings, much about West Kennet Long Barrow remains unknown. The exact rituals that took place within its walls are still a matter of speculation. Did people come here for ritual feasts, sacrifices, or perhaps offerings to the spirits of their ancestors? Did the dead receive special treatment, and if so, what did the living believe they needed to do to honor them? The chamber's construction is equally perplexing. What methods were used to move such large stones, some weighing several tons, and to fit them together with such precision? The technology of the time, based on the use of stone tools and basic labor, was not advanced by today's standards, yet the builders of West Kennet created something that was clearly designed to last for millennia. As we delve deeper into the story of this ancient barrow, we are confronted with more questions than answers. What did the people who built this structure know of the land, of the cosmos, and of the forces that govern life and death? Was the Long Barrow merely a grave, or was it part of a much larger cosmological belief system, one that linked the heavens, the earth, and the ancestors in a sacred dance of life and death? The West Kennet Long Barrow stands as a silent, weathered reminder of the complexity of Neolithic beliefs, and its mysteries still beckon to those who seek to understand the past. Was it simply a place of burial, or was it a focal point for a much larger system of ritual and cosmic understanding? What other secrets remain buried beneath the earth, hidden in the stones and shadows of this ancient monument? And perhaps most intriguingly, could there be more to the Long Barrow's design and its alignment with the land than we have yet uncovered? As the light shifts across the hills of Wiltshire, we are left with these questions. What did the builders of West Kennet Long Barrow truly know, and what pieces of their world remain just out of reach, waiting to be discovered? The answers, it seems, are still waiting to be uncovered. From the megalithic wonders of England, we now turn our gaze to the mist-shrouded hills of Ireland, where a different kind of mystery lies waiting to be uncovered. Here, in the heart of County Meath, amidst the rolling green landscape, stand the Loughcrew Cairns, a collection of ancient burial mounds that date back to around 3,500 BCE. These cairns, often referred to as the Loughcrew Passage tombs, are older than the pyramids of Egypt and rival the famous stone circles of Stonehenge. They sit in quiet isolation on a hilltop, their massive stones and burial chambers still standing after millennia. But like so many ancient sites, their purpose and significance remain enshrouded in mystery. The cairns themselves are striking in their design. Massive stones, some weighing several tons, have been carefully stacked to form large dome-shaped mounds. At first glance, they appear as simple, if imposing, burial sites, but a closer look reveals their complexity. Each cairn is a passage tomb, a structure that combines an entrance passageway with a central chamber. The passages are aligned with the changing seasons, and it's here that the mystery deepens. The Loughcrew Cairns are renowned for their sophisticated astronomical alignments. Some of the cairns, especially those at the highest point of the site, align with the rising sun during the equinoxes. At dawn on these days, sunlight filters through the passageways and illuminates the inner chambers, casting light on ancient carvings etched into the stones. These alignments suggest that the builders of Loughcrew had a deep knowledge of celestial events, and that the site may have been used for ritual purposes tied to the cycles of the sun. But why these specific alignments? What role did the sun and its cycle play in the beliefs of those who constructed these structures? Within the chambers themselves, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of symbolic imagery, spirals, concentric circles, and mysterious motifs that hint at the spiritual beliefs of the Neolithic peoples who built them. Some of these carvings seem to mirror those found at other ancient sites, such as Newgrange, just a short distance away. But unlike Newgrange, Loughcrew has not been as thoroughly excavated or studied. What deeper meanings do these carvings hold? Do they represent the movement of celestial bodies, the changing of seasons, or perhaps the journey of the soul after death? The exact purpose of the cairns remains a subject of speculation. The mainstream view holds that they were used as burial sites for high-ranking individuals, perhaps tribal leaders or shamans. But the size and complexity of the cairns suggest that there may have been more to their function than merely serving as tombs. The alignment with the sun, the intricate carvings, and the overall layout of the site suggest that Loughcrew may have been a site for religious rituals or ceremonial gatherings. Was it a place where the living connected with the divine, or a place where the dead were believed to have a continued presence? The presence of animal bones and pottery shards, found within some of the cairns, further complicates our understanding. Were these offerings, placed there to appease the gods, or were they tokens left behind by mourners, connecting the living to the deceased? Even more intriguing is the theory that the cairns at Loughcrew may have been part of a much larger ceremonial complex, one that spanned the surrounding landscape. There are other burial sites in the region that appear to be aligned with Loughcrew, and some researchers suggest that these cairns may have been markers on a much grander ceremonial or astronomical map. Could the cairns, along with other ancient sites in Ireland, form part of an intricate network of alignments and rituals that we have yet to fully understand? Did these sites communicate with one another across the hills, their builders united in a common purpose, one that transcended the limitations of time and space? Beyond these mainstream explanations, more speculative theories have arisen, seeking to uncover the true significance of the Loughcrew Cairns. Some have suggested that these tombs were more than just burial sites. They may have been part of a much broader cosmological system, tied to the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon. The precise alignment of some of the cairns with astronomical events suggests that the builders may have had a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos, one that went beyond simple agricultural cycles. Did they believe that their tombs were a direct connection to the heavens? Were the cairns designed not only as tombs, but as portals to another world, one where the living and the dead could meet? Others have even speculated that the cairns at Loughcrew may have been part of a larger, more advanced ancient civilization, one that possessed knowledge far beyond what we typically attribute to Neolithic peoples. Could the builders of these tombs have had access to lost technologies, or even knowledge passed down from earlier, forgotten cultures? Could the cairns have been part of a wider tradition that stretched across Europe, from the British Isles to the Mediterranean? Such theories remain, for the most part, fringe ideas. Yet they continue to capture the imagination of those who seek to understand the mysteries of Loughcrew. Despite all the questions that swirl around Loughcrew, one thing is clear. The cairns are more than just burial sites. They are monuments to something greater, something that speaks to the very essence of human spirituality, cosmology, and the desire to connect with the divine. The artistry of the carvings, the precision of the alignments, and the sheer scale of the site suggest a society deeply invested in understanding their place in the universe. As we stand before these ancient mounds, we are left with a lingering sense of awe. The Loughcrew Cairns remain a powerful reminder of the complexity and mystery of the ancient world, and of the enduring human desire to reach for something beyond ourselves. What did the builders of Loughcrew know of the stars, of the sun, and of the cycles of nature? And more profoundly, what did they believe about death, the afterlife, and their connection to the world around them? The cairns of Loughcrew stand as silent witnesses to these ancient questions, waiting for us to uncover their answers. The mystery remains unresolved, hidden within the stones and the carvings, waiting for the next generation of explorers to unlock the secrets buried within this sacred landscape. Could we still be missing something vital, something hidden in plain sight? Only time and further exploration will tell. As we leave behind the wind-swept hills of Ireland and the ancient cairns of Loughcrew, we journey eastward, to a land where the mysteries of a forgotten civilization rise from the desert sands. Nestled deep in the rugged mountains of southern Jordan, the city of Petra awaits, its iconic rock-cut architecture and elaborate tombs standing as silent witnesses to a culture that flourished over 2 millennia ago. Among Petra's many wonders, its royal tombs are some of the most striking and enigmatic. Carved into the red sandstone cliffs that surround the ancient city, these tombs are not just burial places. They are monumental symbols of power, artistry, and mystery. They speak to the might of the Nabatean kingdom, a people whose influence once stretched across the heart of the ancient world. And yet, despite the grandeur of these tombs, much about their construction, purpose, and the culture that built them remains shrouded in uncertainty. The royal tombs are a collection of monumental structures, each uniquely designed and elaborately decorated. As you approach the site, the sheer scale of the tombs is overwhelming. Their facades, chiseled directly into the rose-colored rock, stand like sentinels, guarding the final resting places of the city's elite. The Al-Khazne, or treasury, is the most famous of these tombs, with its intricate columns and ornate carvings, once believed to be a royal tomb, though its true purpose remains debated. But as we venture further into the heart of Petra, we encounter other tombs, equally imposing but far less visited, each with its own distinctive architectural style. These tombs, with their towering facades and multi-chambered interiors, offer a glimpse into the sophistication of the Nabatean people. Their engineering prowess is evident in the sheer size and precision of the structures, yet there is something uniquely mysterious about the way these tombs were built. How were such colossal structures carved into the rock? The Nabateans were known for their expertise in water management and trade, but they left behind no written records that might explain the methods behind their monumental burial sites. Were they able to harness some kind of lost technology, or was their success simply a result of unmatched ingenuity? The most famous of the royal tombs, the urn tomb, is one of the largest and most striking. Its facade, decorated with a series of intricately carved urns, opens up into a massive vaulted chamber that once housed the remains of Petra's most prominent figures. Within its walls, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, pottery, coins, and fragments of clothing that provide insight into the lives of the people who lived here. Yet, despite the abundance of material remains, the true purpose of these tombs remains elusive. Were they simply the final resting places of the wealthy and powerful, or did they serve a more ritualistic function, perhaps as a way to commune with the gods, or to mark a transition into the afterlife? One of the most intriguing aspects of Petra's royal tombs is their alignment with the surrounding landscape. The tombs are not scattered randomly across the city, but are carefully positioned in relation to natural features, mountains, rock formations, and the flow of water. Some researchers have speculated that the placement of these tombs was not merely a practical consideration, but was imbued with cosmological significance. Could the Nabateans have believed that these tombs were connected to the celestial realm? Did they align the tombs with specific stars or constellations, perhaps as a way to ensure that the souls of the deceased would journey safely to the afterlife? Even more compelling is the possibility that the tombs were part of a larger system of spiritual or ritualistic practices. The Nabateans were not only traders, but also skilled astronomers and engineers, and it's conceivable that they used these tombs to honor the heavens, aligning their burial sites with the sun and the stars. Some scholars believe that the placement and design of the tombs could represent a complex understanding of the cosmos, one that we are only beginning to unravel. If this is the case, what was the deeper purpose of these alignments? Were they meant to guide the deceased on a spiritual journey, or did they represent an ongoing connection between the living and the divine? The most perplexing question, perhaps, is the eventual disappearance of the Nabateans from Petra. While the city flourished for centuries, it ultimately fell into decline. Was it a result of changing trade routes, natural disasters, or internal conflict? Or was there something more mysterious behind the fall of Petra, something that has yet to be uncovered in the ruins of these monumental tombs? As we walk among the royal tombs today, the air thick with history, it's hard not to wonder what secrets still lie hidden beneath the rose-colored stone. What did the Nabateans know of the cosmos, of life, and of death? How did they view their place in the world, and what did they believe would happen after they passed on? The tombs of Petra continue to stand as silent witnesses to these ancient questions, their secrets locked away in the rock, waiting to be uncovered by future explorers. The grandeur of these tombs speaks not only of a lost civilization, but also of a deeper unspoken mystery, one that time may never fully reveal. As we leave the ancient desert city of Petra and its royal tombs behind, we turn our gaze once again to Europe. This time, we journey to the verdant hills of northern Spain, where a site known as Castro de Santa Trega offers a unique glimpse into the past, a place where the layers of history are still very much alive, but their true meaning remains a mystery. Castro de Santa Trega is not just a site. It is an entire ancient settlement, perched high above the estuary of the River Minho on the northern tip of the Iberian Peninsula. As you approach this fortress-like hilltop, a sense of awe takes hold. The view is breathtaking, rolling hills stretching to the horizon, the silver shimmer of the river winding through the landscape below. It's easy to understand why the people who lived here chose this location. Its strategic position offers both a commanding view of the surrounding area and a natural defense, with steep cliffs on all sides, making it an ideal place to settle and defend. The Castro, a type of hill fort, dates back to the Iron Age, around the 1st century BCE to the early centuries of the Common Era. What remains of the settlement today is a combination of stone walls, circular stone foundations, and remnants of pathways that once connected homes, temples, and communal spaces. The structures themselves are simple but remarkably resilient, shaped from local granite and built with a technique that has withstood the test of time. Yet, as we stand among the ruins, the mysteries of Castro de Santa Trega reveal themselves in the absence of certain answers. What was this place truly used for? Who were the people who lived here, and what were their beliefs, their daily lives, their rituals? The mainstream explanation is that Castro de Santa Trega was a Celtic oppidum, a fortified settlement occupied by the Celtiberian tribes of the region. The Celts were known for their intricate social systems, their warriors, and their distinct, often elaborate religious practices. Castro de Santa Trega, like other Castros scattered throughout northern Spain and Portugal, is believed to have been a place of both defense and community, a hub of Celtic society. The circular dwellings found here are typical of the period, but there is something about the site that suggests it was more than just a military outpost or civilian settlement. The layout of the settlement speaks to an organized and planned community, with carefully arranged streets and a sense of hierarchy in the distribution of buildings. Some of the structures seem to have been used for communal purposes, possibly as meeting places or for ritualistic activities. Archaeological digs have uncovered objects that point to a rich cultural life: pottery, metalwork, jewelry, and even evidence of trade with the Mediterranean world. Yet, despite these material discoveries, the true function of the settlement remains elusive. One of the most striking features of Castro de Santa Trega is its ritual significance. Several small sanctuaries and shrines have been uncovered at the site, many of which are positioned in alignment with natural features like the river or the surrounding mountains. Was the site merely a settlement, or was it also a sacred place? A place where the Celts came to honor their gods or mark significant astronomical events. Evidence of fire pits, carved stones, and ritual offerings points to the possibility that the settlement served as a spiritual center, where both everyday life and religious practices were intertwined. But what were these practices? Celtic religious systems were varied, complex, and often deeply tied to the natural world. They believed in a pantheon of gods associated with various aspects of nature: earth, water, fire, and the heavens. Was there a connection between the strategic positioning of the Castro de Santa Trega settlement and the natural forces that the Celts revered? Did the people who built this settlement see it as a place where the earthly realm met the divine? The alignment of certain structures with celestial events raises the possibility that the settlement may have had an astronomical function, serving as a calendar or observatory to mark the changing of the seasons or the movements of the stars. Yet, perhaps the most compelling mystery of Castro de Santa Trega lies in its abandonment. Despite its strategic location and the apparent importance of the settlement, it was eventually abandoned, left to fall into ruin. What caused this sudden shift? Some scholars point to external factors such as invasions, climate change, or shifts in trade routes. Others suggest internal conflict or the rise of new political or social systems in the area. But the truth remains elusive. Why did a once thriving settlement in such a defensible position simply vanish from the historical record? One theory that has emerged is that the settlement was abandoned due to a shift in religious or spiritual beliefs. Perhaps the Celts, or the people who inhabited Castro de Santa Trega, began to see the site as no longer sacred, or maybe a new belief system took precedence. Was there a cultural revolution that led to the decline of the old ways? The transition from the Celtic Iron Age to the Roman period is marked by significant cultural changes, and it's possible that these shifts are connected to the abandonment of sites like Castro de Santa Trega. Could the advent of Roman rule have displaced the old ways of worship, causing the people to move on to new locations, or even integrate into the broader Roman world? More speculative theories suggest that there could have been a spiritual or mystical reason for the abandonment. Some argue that the Celts, deeply attuned to the cycles of nature and the forces of the unseen world, may have abandoned the site because they believed that it had served its purpose. Did they leave the site as a sacred act, perhaps in response to a perceived change in the land or the heavens? Such theories, though not widely accepted, raise fascinating questions about the relationship between ancient peoples and the places they inhabited. The site today is an evocative place, its silence almost reverent. As you walk through the remains of Castro de Santa Trega, it's impossible not to feel the weight of history pressing in. The stones are weathered, and the foundations partially obscured by grass and ivy, but still, they stand, a testament to a people whose stories are not fully understood. The mystery of Castro de Santa Trega is not just in what remains, but in the things that are still hidden beneath the earth, in the stories that have yet to be uncovered. What were the true beliefs of the people who built this settlement? How did they view the natural world, the heavens, and their place in the cosmos? And why, after all the effort that went into constructing this fortification, did they leave it behind? The Castro de Santa Trega holds many secrets, and like so many ancient sites, its true meaning may remain just out of reach. But the questions it raises linger, inviting further exploration, further investigation, an ongoing journey into the heart of an ancient world that continues to speak to us across time. What is still waiting to be uncovered here? And what, perhaps, will we never fully understand? As we leave behind the mist-clad hills of northern Spain and the ancient Castro de Santa Trega, we shift our focus to another corner of the Mediterranean, where the mysterious past of Malta quietly calls out. Here, on the rugged, windswept plains of the island's central region, we find the Skorba Temples, an ancient complex that predates both the pyramids of Egypt and the grand stone circles of Stonehenge. In their quiet, almost somber beauty, these temples hold not only the secrets of the people who built them, but also clues to a lost world of religious practices, spiritual beliefs, and mysteries that have yet to be fully understood. The Skorba Temples are part of a series of prehistoric megalithic sites scattered across Malta, some of the oldest stone structures in Europe. The site consists of 2 temples, carefully constructed with large, irregular stones, each meticulously arranged to form a series of chambers, courtyards, and passageways. The temples are simple in their design, but they exude a sense of ancient purpose, their stones standing in solemn rows, as though guarding the secrets of an era long gone. Today, much of the site is partially excavated, leaving only the barest outlines of the once impressive structures. But even in their reduced state, the temples speak to us through the fragments that remain, fragments of stone, pottery, and even human remains, testifying to a time when these sacred spaces were at the heart of the island's religious life. The Skorba Temples date back to the Copper Age, around 4000 to 3500 BCE, and their construction marks an important transition in Maltese prehistory. The people who built these temples were part of the island's first farming communities, living in a world that was slowly becoming more settled, more complex. The temples themselves are aligned with the natural world, specifically with the sun, and their construction suggests that the people who built them had an advanced understanding of astronomy and the cycles of nature. The larger of the 2 temples, with its central chamber and curved walls, was likely used for ceremonial purposes, perhaps as a place for ritual offerings or communal gatherings. The small altar-like structure within the temple hints at its religious significance, but the specifics of the rites performed here remain a mystery. Yet, the mystery deepens when we look closer at the layout of the site. The temples are not just isolated structures. They are part of a larger network of megalithic sites across the island, each with its own unique features and alignments. Some researchers believe that the temples of Skorba, like other temples in Malta, were carefully designed to correspond with certain celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun during solstices and equinoxes. Could the Skorba temples have been part of an ancient system of astronomical observatories designed to track the movements of the sun and stars? The possibility that these structures were aligned with celestial phenomena raises tantalizing questions. Did the people of Malta see their temples as a means of connecting with the heavens? Were these spaces designed not only to honor their gods, but to understand their place in the cosmos? Another striking feature of the Skorba temples is their stone carvings, which hint at a rich spiritual life but remain largely undeciphered. The remains of altars, carvings of spiral motifs, and other symbols found within the temples suggest that the people who built them had complex spiritual and religious beliefs. These carvings, which resemble those found at other megalithic sites in Malta, hint at the possibility of an organized religion centered around the worship of natural forces such as the sun, the moon, and the earth. But what did these symbols truly mean? What were the gods or spirits the people of Skorba sought to honor? And how did their beliefs shape the way they constructed their temples? Could the carvings serve as a kind of spiritual map, guiding the inhabitants of Skorba through their rituals and daily lives? Despite the abundance of material evidence, the Skorba temple's exact purpose remains elusive. The mainstream view is that these were primarily religious structures, serving as places of worship and community gathering. But could they have served other, less understood functions? Could the temples have been places of healing, as some researchers suggest, or perhaps sites where the dead were honored in some way? Human remains discovered at the site hint at the possibility of burial rituals, yet the precise relationship between the living and the dead in this sacred space is still unclear. Was Skorba a site of regular pilgrimage for the ancient Maltese, or was it reserved for the elite and powerful? Even more intriguing is the possibility that the Skorba temples were not simply religious sites, but also locations of social and political significance. Were they places where the power structures of the early Maltese societies were formed, or where leaders were chosen or consecrated? The impressive scale of the structures and the labor involved in their construction suggest that these temples held some kind of societal importance, but their exact role in governance or social organization remains speculative. Adding to the mystery is the eventual decline of the Skorba site. Like many ancient temples, it seems to have been abandoned around 3,500 BCE, after just a few centuries of use. Some scholars believe that the temples were abandoned due to changing religious beliefs, a shift that could have been brought about by the arrival of new people or new ideas. Others suggest that the decline may have been linked to environmental changes, such as the depletion of natural resources or shifts in the climate. But the true reasons behind the abandonment of Skorba and the other megalithic sites on Malta remain unknown. What caused the people who built these grand temples to walk away from them? Was it a deliberate act, perhaps a symbolic departure from the old ways? Or was it the result of some unforeseen external force? The questions surrounding the Skorba temples are as numerous as the stones that make up the site itself. What was the true function of these temples? Were they merely places of worship, or did they serve a deeper, more mysterious purpose? Was there a hidden connection between the temples and the natural world, perhaps linked to the cycles of the moon or the stars? And what role did the people who built these structures envision for themselves in the grand scheme of the universe? As we stand before the remains of the Skorba Temples today, we are left with a sense of wonder and mystery, gazing out over the quiet landscape that once echoed with the sounds of ritual and ceremony. The temples speak to us through their stones, their carvings, and their alignment with the natural world. Yet the deeper questions, the questions of belief, purpose, and meaning, remain unanswered. What truths might still be buried beneath the earth, hidden from view? Only time and further exploration will reveal the full story of the Skorba Temples, and perhaps, just perhaps, uncover the lost wisdom of an ancient civilization that once sought to understand its place in the cosmos. Leaving behind the sun-drenched landscapes of Malta, we now journey north, across the rugged hills and windswept plains of the Scottish Orkney Islands, to a site that has long captivated both archaeologists and mystics alike: Maeshowe. This ancient burial mound, shrouded in mystery and steeped in legend, stands as one of the most remarkable megalithic monuments in the British Isles, a testament to an age-old civilization whose beliefs and practices are still not fully understood. Maeshowe is not just any burial mound. It is a chambered cairn, constructed around 2800 BCE, a structure that rises from the earth like a silent sentinel over the surrounding landscape. The cairn itself is composed of massive stones, carefully stacked to form a large dome-shaped mound. But it is what lies beneath the surface that makes Maeshowe truly extraordinary. Beneath its grassy exterior is a labyrinthine network of chambers and passages, a stone maze that opens into a central burial chamber. As you step inside, the air grows colder and the sense of ancient history presses in. The walls of the chamber are lined with massive stones, each one placed with precision and care. At the far end of the chamber, a large, flat stone marks the burial site, though the bones of the deceased have long since disappeared, leaving only the ghostly echoes of the past. The layout of Maeshowe is unlike many other burial sites. It is not just a place for the dead, but a carefully designed structure that aligns with celestial events, adding an extra layer of mystery to its construction. The most striking feature of Maeshowe is its astronomical alignment. The entrance passage to the chamber is precisely aligned with the setting sun during the winter solstice. As the sun dips below the horizon on the shortest day of the year, its rays shine directly into the entrance passage, illuminating the inner chamber. This remarkable alignment suggests that the builders of Maeshowe had a sophisticated understanding of the heavens, an awareness of the movement of the sun, the moon, and the stars. But why was this alignment so important to them? Was it simply a practical consideration for marking the seasons, or did it hold deeper, more spiritual significance? Some scholars have suggested that Maeshowe, like other ancient structures aligned with celestial events, may have been used as a ritual center. The winter solstice, after all, marks the point in the year when the sun begins its return, symbolizing rebirth and renewal. Could Maeshowe have been a place of worship, a site where the people who built it gathered to honor the cycles of nature and the sun's journey across the sky? The fact that the tombs at Maeshowe were used for burials, combined with the solstitial alignment, hints at the possibility that the structure had a dual purpose, both as a place for the dead and as a space for the living to connect with the divine through the sun's movements. Yet, as with many ancient sites, there is still much that remains unexplained. For one, the builders of Maeshowe left behind no written records, no definitive explanations of their purpose or beliefs. What we know about Maeshowe comes from the evidence left behind in the stones, the alignments, and the artifacts. Some have speculated that the cairn could have had ritualistic or shamanic significance, a place where the living communed with the dead or where rites of passage were performed. Others have suggested that it was a political statement, a monument designed to assert power and control over the land and its people. But why, in such a remote location, was this massive structure created? What was the message that its builders sought to convey? Adding to the intrigue of Maeshowe is the discovery of ancient runes carved into its walls. These inscriptions, believed to have been made by Norsemen in the 12th century, are among the earliest examples of runic writing in Britain. The Norse connection adds yet another layer of complexity to the site, suggesting that Maeshowe was not only a site of prehistoric significance, but also one that continued to hold importance for later cultures. The Vikings, who arrived in the Orkneys centuries after the cairn was built, may have recognized the site's power and mystique, leaving their own mark on its walls. But what did these runes mean? And why did the Vikings feel compelled to carve them into the ancient stones? Were they paying homage to the site's original builders, or were they leaving their own offerings to the gods they worshipped? There is also the question of how the Neolithic builders of Maeshowe were able to construct such a sophisticated and massive structure using only the technology available at the time. The stones used in the construction of the cairn weigh several tons, and yet the builders managed to move and position them with remarkable precision. How was this accomplished? Some have suggested that the builders could have used a system of ramps and levers, while others believe that they may have had knowledge of techniques that have been lost to history. Could there have been a more advanced method of construction that we have yet to uncover? Even more speculative theories suggest that the site may have had a connection to lost civilizations or ancient knowledge. The precise astronomical alignments, the enormous scale of the structure, and the mysterious runes left behind by the Vikings have led some to wonder if the builders of Maeshowe had access to knowledge that was far beyond what we typically attribute to Neolithic people. Did they possess knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or engineering that we have yet to fully understand? Or was their understanding of the world, and their place within it, something that modern science has yet to fully grasp? The fate of Maeshowe also remains a subject of speculation. Why was it abandoned after the Neolithic period, and why was it left to fall into disrepair? Did the people who built Maeshowe simply move on to other locations, or was the site abandoned because its purpose had been fulfilled? Was it eventually forgotten, or was there a deliberate decision to cease using it? As with many ancient sites, the true reasons for its abandonment are lost to time, leaving us with only the faint echoes of its former significance. As we stand before Maeshowe today, its ancient stones weathered by centuries of wind and rain, it is impossible not to feel the weight of its mystery. The site speaks to us through the alignments, the carvings, and the quiet stillness that envelops the cairn. Yet, even as we examine it, we are left with as many questions as answers. What was the true purpose of Maeshowe? Was it a place of ritual, a monument to the dead, or something more? How did the Neolithic builders of this site come to possess the knowledge they did, and what was the connection between Maeshowe and the heavens? The mystery of Maeshowe endures, its secrets locked within the stones, waiting to be uncovered by those who dare to seek them. What might still lie hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself? After delving into the enigmatic stone structures of Maeshowe, we now shift our focus to one of the oldest known human settlements, Jericho, a city whose origins stretch back to the dawn of civilization. Situated in the Jordan Valley, in modern-day Palestine, Jericho is home to an extraordinary discovery: the Jericho Tower, an ancient structure that has long puzzled archaeologists and historians alike. The Jericho Tower stands as a silent testament to a people who lived thousands of years ago, long before written history began. Rising from the earth like a forgotten sentinel, this massive stone tower was once part of a larger Neolithic settlement, a thriving community that existed around 8000 BCE, during a time when humanity was slowly transitioning from a nomadic lifestyle to settled agricultural societies. Jericho, known as one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities, reveals itself not just through its bustling marketplace and defensive walls, but through its extraordinary architectural features, none more mysterious than the tower itself. The tower, which stands at an impressive 8.5 meters tall and is constructed from large, carefully arranged stones, was discovered during excavations of the Tel es Sultan archaeological site, one of the oldest settlements in the region. At first glance, the tower seems remarkably advanced for its time. The sheer scale of its construction, along with its finely cut stones, suggests that its builders were skilled craftsmen, people capable of intricate labor and architectural innovation. The structure is solid and impressive, yet its purpose remains elusive. What was the tower for? Why was such a monumental effort put into its construction in a time when most people were still living in simple mud brick dwellings? Archaeologists have debated the purpose of the Jericho Tower for decades, with several plausible theories emerging. The mainstream explanation posits that the tower may have served as a defensive structure, a watchtower or fortification to help protect the settlement from outside threats. Given Jericho's location near the Jordan River and the fertile land that it provided, it would have been a prime target for raiders or rival groups seeking to control the area. But the question remains, if the tower was a defensive structure, why is it so much more monumental than any other fortification from the same period? And why was it built long before the development of sophisticated weaponry or military strategies? Another prevailing theory suggests that the Jericho Tower may have been a ritualistic or ceremonial structure, a kind of focal point for religious or spiritual practices. The discovery of human skulls, which had been plastered and adorned with shells, found nearby the tower has led some researchers to propose that the tower was part of a complex belief system. Were these people performing rituals, perhaps to honor ancestors or to appease gods they believed controlled the natural world around them? The plastered skulls, which appear to have been intentionally created and displayed, point to a society that was already developing complex social and spiritual customs that might have involved the tower as a central symbol or focal point. Interestingly, the tower's placement within the settlement suggests that it was not just a standalone structure, but was part of a much larger, carefully planned community. The walls of Jericho, which surround the settlement, are equally mysterious. These walls, made of stone and mud brick, were far more advanced than anything seen in other contemporary settlements. How did the people of Jericho manage to construct such sophisticated fortifications with such limited resources? Was the tower part of a system of walls and defensive features, or did it serve a different, more profound purpose that we cannot fully comprehend? Some researchers have even proposed that the Jericho Tower might have had a cosmological or astronomical purpose. The Neolithic people who built it would have been deeply attuned to the cycles of the earth, the sun, and the stars. Could the tower have been used to mark celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes, or to observe the movement of the moon and the stars? Some theorists have suggested that the tower may have been a symbol of the sky or the heavens, a structure designed not only for defense or ritual, but also as a connection to the divine or the cosmos. Could the placement of the tower align with celestial bodies in a way that we have yet to fully understand? The sheer size of the Jericho Tower and the effort involved in its construction also raise questions about the social structure of the people who built it. Who were the individuals responsible for such a monumental project? Were they rulers, spiritual leaders, or an elite class that dictated the labor of the community? The existence of large, communal structures like the tower suggests that the early inhabitants of Jericho had some form of social hierarchy, a division of labor that enabled such a massive project to be undertaken. But what else did these people believe? How did their worldview influence their choices in architecture? And what does this tell us about the role of religion, power, and community in their lives? Adding to the mystery of the Jericho Tower is the discovery of the collapsed structure surrounding it. It seems that the tower, like the rest of Jericho, was eventually destroyed, perhaps by an earthquake or another form of natural disaster. This destruction adds another layer to the story. Why was the tower abandoned or destroyed? Was it a result of a changing society, a shift in religious practices, or a natural calamity that caused its people to move on. The collapse of the tower, with its stones scattered and its purpose forgotten, raises the question, what else about Jericho has been lost to time? Despite the many theories that surround the Jericho Tower, the ultimate question remains. What was its true purpose? Was it a monumental fortress built to protect an early society from external threats, a ceremonial center used for spiritual rituals, or a symbol of power and status within a complex social hierarchy? Was it a connection to the divine, or an attempt to communicate with the cosmos itself? And if so, why was it abandoned, leaving behind only remnants of its grandeur? As we stand before the tower today, its ancient stones worn by the passage of millennia, the mystery only deepens. The Jericho Tower is a silent monument to a time and a people long forgotten, yet its unanswered questions continue to reverberate through history. What did its builders know that we have yet to understand? And what remains hidden, perhaps still waiting to be uncovered, beneath the soil of Jericho? The tower may stand in silence, but its secrets, like the whispers of the past, continue to call to us across the ages. As we leave behind the ancient city of Jericho, with its towering mysteries still unresolved, we travel north to the wild and windswept landscape of the Scottish Highlands, where another megalithic site stands in quiet defiance of time. Here, nestled in the lush valleys near the River Nairn, we find the Clava Cairns, a collection of prehistoric burial sites that have both captivated and mystified archaeologists for centuries. Their purpose, their builders, and even their true significance remain subjects of intense debate. Yet, in the haunting silence of these ancient stones, the echoes of a forgotten world still seem to whisper. The Clava Cairns are a group of passage tombs, structures that date back to the Bronze Age, around 4,000 years ago. These cairns are not just simple burial mounds. They are intricate and deliberate constructions, their chambers built from massive stones, some weighing several tons. The cairns are arranged in circular patterns, with stone walls that form a passage leading into the central burial chamber. Each cairn is surrounded by a ring of standing stones, their tall forms rising like sentinels guarding the past. Their weathered surfaces bear the marks of time, but they still stand proud, silent witnesses to a time long past. What makes the Clava Cairns particularly fascinating is the way they align with the natural world. They are strategically placed, with their passages often oriented toward the rising or setting sun. The most striking alignment is at midwinter, when the sun sets directly over one of the cairns, casting long shadows through its passageway. This alignment suggests a deliberate connection between the cairns and the movements of the celestial bodies, a reflection of the people's deep connection to the sky and their understanding of the cycles of nature. Was this alignment a way to mark the passage of time, or was it a spiritual act designed to connect the dead with the heavens? The cairns, with their precise and thoughtful construction, seem to point toward something far more complex than mere burial sites. Inside the cairns, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of people who were likely important members of the community, perhaps chieftains, spiritual leaders, or warriors. The bones of animals and artifacts such as pottery and flint tools have also been found, indicating that the people buried here were not merely laid to rest, but were sent off with offerings for the afterlife. The presence of bone relics and other artifacts hints at a rich spiritual and social life, one that revolved around rituals and beliefs that we can only begin to imagine. But who were these people, and what did they believe? Despite the wealth of material evidence, the purpose of the Clava Cairns remains unclear. The mainstream explanation suggests that these cairns were built as ritual burial sites, places where the dead were honored and where the living could connect with their ancestors. The people who built these cairns are thought to have belonged to the Beaker culture, known for its distinctive pottery and burial practices. The cairns themselves could have served as a ritual space, where ceremonies were held to mark the changing of the seasons or to honor the deceased. But this theory, while plausible, still leaves us with many unanswered questions. For one, why were the cairns built with such elaborate precision and care? The passageways and burial chambers within these cairns are not simple structures. They are designed to last, constructed with stones so large and heavy that it would have taken immense effort to move them. The question arises, why go to such lengths to build a structure that would only be used for a relatively small group of people? Could there have been a larger purpose behind the construction of the cairns, one that we haven't yet uncovered? Some researchers have proposed that the Clava Cairns were part of a larger religious or spiritual complex, linked to the practice of ancestor worship. In this view, the cairns would have served as a ritual center, where the living communed with their ancestors through the cycles of death and rebirth. The alignment of the cairns with the sun and the changing seasons suggests that the people who built them had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, possibly using the cairns to mark the solstices and equinoxes. Could these cairns have been designed to honor the cycles of nature and the cosmic forces that govern their world? Other more speculative theories suggest that the Clava Cairns may have had a mystical or spiritual function beyond just burial. Some have wondered whether the cairns were places where the boundaries between the living and the dead were thought to be thin, where spiritual rituals allowed for communication with the afterlife. Could these cairns have been seen as gateways to another world, portals through which the souls of the departed could pass into the next realm? The deliberate use of standing stones and the precise alignment with the sun have led some to speculate that the cairns were not only burial sites but also places where the divine was invoked, where the living sought guidance from the gods or spirits of their ancestors. Adding to the mystery of the cairns is the presence of other similar monuments in the surrounding area. The standing stones of Clava, a circle of large stones located near the cairns, are part of a broader network of megalithic structures found in the Scottish Highlands. These stones, like the cairns themselves, are aligned with the heavens, raising the possibility that the entire area was once a sacred ritual landscape, a place where celestial and earthly realms intersected. But who were the people who created these sites? And why did they choose this particular location? What was it about the landscape that made it sacred to them? Some have suggested that the Clava Cairns are part of a wider Neolithic tradition of stone construction that spanned much of northern Europe. These sites, built by different cultures over the course of millennia, share similarities in their design and alignment with the stars, suggesting that there was a common spiritual or ritual framework uniting these distant peoples. Could there have been an ancient network of belief systems that stretched across the continent, linking disparate tribes and cultures through shared astronomical knowledge and spiritual practices? Or was this a coincidence, a series of parallel developments that arose independently in different places? The mystery surrounding the Clava Cairns is not just about their purpose, but about the people who built them. Who were the builders of these monumental tombs? What was their culture like, and what did they believe about the afterlife? The cairns stand as a reminder that there is still much we don't know about the ancient past, that we are still grappling with the deep mysteries of early human spirituality and belief. As we stand before the Clava Cairns, gazing out across the rolling hills of the Scottish Highlands, we are left with the haunting realization that there are still secrets buried beneath the earth, hidden within the stones. What was the true meaning of these cairns? Were they simple burial sites, or did they serve as something more profound? And what other mysteries remain to be uncovered in this ancient landscape, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? The answers may lie just out of reach, waiting to be discovered by those who dare to look closer. Leaving behind the wind-swept hills of Scotland, we now travel south, to the heart of the Andes in Peru, where a mystery of a different kind beckons. High above the sacred valley, nestled on the slopes of Machu Picchu, lies the Temple of the Sun, an extraordinary structure built by the ancient Inca civilization. Known locally as Intihuatana, meaning hitching post of the sun, the temple was once a sacred site of profound astronomical and spiritual significance. Though much of the Inca Empire has been lost to time, this temple, along with its surrounding complex, remains an enigmatic testament to the Incas' advanced understanding of the cosmos and their complex religious beliefs. But like many ancient sites, the true purpose of the Temple of the Sun remains elusive. The Temple of the Sun itself is a marvel of Incan engineering. Carved directly into the mountainside, the temple consists of an intricately shaped stone structure, designed to align with the movements of the sun and other celestial bodies. The centerpiece of the temple is the Intihuatana stone, a massive, carefully carved pillar of stone that is thought to have once served as an astronomical observatory, a tool for the Inca to track the sun's movements and mark important solstices and equinoxes. The stone is shaped like a small pyramid with 4 edges, each facing a cardinal direction. The sun's rays would have illuminated the stone during significant moments in the solar year, such as the winter solstice. But what exactly did the Inca believe about the relationship between this stone and the sun? Was it simply an observatory, or did it hold a deeper, more mystical purpose? To understand the significance of the Temple of the Sun, it's important to grasp the centrality of the sun god, Inti, in Inca religion. Inti was not just one of many gods in the Incan pantheon, but was regarded as the source of life, the creator of the world, and the patron deity of the Inca rulers themselves. The Inca emperor, or Sapa Inca, was believed to be the direct descendant of Inti, a living god on earth. The temple, therefore, was not just a place of worship. It was a physical manifestation of the connection between the human world and the divine. The stone pillar, Intihuatana, would have been a focal point for rituals and offerings, a place where the living could communicate with the gods through the alignment of the sun. But this raises an intriguing question. Was the sun the only celestial body that the Inca were concerned with? Or did the temple also serve as a site for tracking other cosmic events, such as the movement of the stars or the phases of the moon? Some have speculated that the Intihuatana stone was more than just a solar marker. The precision with which it was carved, and its alignment with the landscape, suggests that it may have had a role in predicting not just seasonal changes, but more complex celestial events. Could the stone have been used to predict eclipses, or perhaps the position of distant stars? The Inca, with their advanced understanding of the heavens, may have used the temple not just for ritual purposes, but also as a way to navigate time itself, calculating when to plant crops, when to hold ceremonies, and when to make offerings to the gods in accordance with the cosmic rhythms. Yet, as with many ancient structures, there are gaps in our understanding. The temple, like other Incan monuments, was built in a time before written records. Most of what we know about the Temple of the Sun comes from the observations of early Spanish conquistadors, who noted its grandeur, but were largely ignorant of its true spiritual significance. This lack of first-hand records leaves us to speculate based on the archaeological evidence alone, piecing together fragments of a belief system that the Inca themselves may have seen as sacred and beyond question. One of the most fascinating aspects of the temple is its relationship with solar phenomena. In particular, the Intihuatana stone was said to have been used to mark the winter solstice, when the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky, and the Inca would hold special ceremonies to honor their sun god. During the solstice, the stone would cast a shadow on the surrounding landscape, perhaps signaling the exact moment of renewal. Was this moment a ritual of renewal, signifying not only the return of the sun, but the continued life of the emperor as the earthly representative of Inti? the ceremonial aspects of the solstice would likely have been tied to political power, reinforcing the emperor's divine connection to the sun and his role as the earthly steward of the heavens. But what does the word Intihuatana truly mean? While it is commonly translated as hitching post of the sun, the precise interpretation remains open to question. The word hitching post implies a kind of tethering or anchoring, suggesting that the stone might have been seen as a connection point between the sun and the earth, perhaps not only in a physical sense, but also spiritually. Could the Intihuatana stone have been viewed as a symbolic anchor for the sun, a place where the solar deity was tied to the earth each year, marking the cycles of life and death? This idea takes on added weight when we consider the importance of cycles in Inca life. The cycles of the seasons, the cycles of the moon, and the cycles of the emperor's life and death. Adding another layer of complexity to the mystery is the destruction of much of the site following the Spanish conquest in the 16th century. While much of Machu Picchu survived, the Spanish priests, intent on eradicating native beliefs, defaced and destroyed many of the temples and idols. This, combined with the absence of written records, has left a veil of uncertainty around the true functions of the Temple of the Sun. What rituals were performed here that we will never know? Were there other, even more secretive elements of the site that were never meant to be discovered by outsiders? The story of the Temple of the Sun is one of mystery and reverence, of a people who built a temple not only to honor the sun, but to align themselves with its eternal cycles. Yet the full significance of this temple, and its true place in Inca society, remains largely hidden. Was it a mere astronomical observatory, or a portal through which the Inca communicated with their sun god? Was it a symbol of divine power, or a spiritual anchor for an entire civilization? And what other unknown connections might still be uncovered, waiting for modern science to unlock their secrets? As we stand in the shadow of Machu Picchu, gazing upon the Temple of the Sun and the Intihuatana stone, we are left with the profound feeling that we are only scratching the surface of what this ancient site represents. The Inca, with their profound connection to the natural world and the cosmos, left us a remarkable legacy, but much of it remains a mystery. What hidden truths lie in the alignment of the stones, in the rising sun, and in the whispers of the wind across the mountaintop? The questions persist, just as the ancient stone remains standing, waiting for us to discover what we have yet to understand. Leaving the towering peaks and sacred solar alignments of the Andes behind, we journey across continents and civilizations to the arid landscapes of Rajasthan, India, where one of the most visually striking and enigmatic water structures ever built awaits: the Chand Baori Stepwell. At first glance, it is a stunning geometric marvel, a sheer drop of stone descending over 13 stories into the earth, yet its purpose, origins, and the exact methods of its construction remain subjects of fascination and debate. In its silent depths, the Chand Baori invites us to ponder the ingenuity, the beliefs, and the mysteries of the people who carved this extraordinary structure. Chand Baori lies in the village of Abhaneri, near Jaipur, and is considered one of the deepest and largest stepwells in India. From above, it appears almost surreal. 134 narrow steps descend in perfect symmetry to the water at the bottom, flanked by walls of carved niches that catch the sunlight in intricate patterns. The design is both functional and aesthetic, a true marvel of geometry and human craftsmanship. The stepwell is framed by a series of pillared pavilions, each carved with detailed motifs of animals, deities, and abstract symbols. Walking through its corridors and peering down into its dizzying depths, one can sense the weight of centuries pressing inward, a place that has both practical purpose and profound symbolic resonance. Stepwells in India were primarily water management systems, designed to collect and store rainwater in regions prone to long periods of drought. Chand Baori is no exception in this regard, yet its scale and precision raise questions. Why construct a well with over 3,500 narrow steps, descending nearly 100 feet into the earth, when a simpler cistern or reservoir could have sufficed? The enormity of the effort suggests that the structure had a significance beyond mere water storage. The precise geometric design, aligned with the sun, and the artistic embellishments hint at ritualistic, ceremonial, or symbolic purposes. Could the act of descending the steps into the earth have represented a spiritual journey, a metaphorical passage between the earthly and the divine, the visible and the hidden? The origins of Chand Baori are often attributed to the Chand dynasty of the 9th century, yet the exact dates of construction remain uncertain. Local legends claim it was built by a king named Chand, but the historical record is ambiguous. Some historians suggest that the stepwell predates the dynasty, hinting at a tradition of subterranean architecture and water engineering that may go back centuries earlier than currently documented. What inspired the builders to conceive such a precise and monumental structure? Was there lost knowledge of engineering, hydraulics, and geometry that enabled them to create a stepwell of such durability and elegance, knowledge that has yet to be fully understood or replicated? One of the most intriguing aspects of Chand Baori is its psychological and symbolic impact. The descent into the stepwell creates a sensation of entering another realm, a subterranean labyrinth of shadow, echo, and perspective. The walls of the stepwell seem to multiply the depth as one descends, the interplay of light and shadow shifting with the sun, almost as if the architecture itself were designed to disorient and inspire awe. Could this have been intentional? Did the builders intend for Chand Baori to serve as a ritualistic or contemplative space, where individuals would descend physically while ascending spiritually, reflecting on the cycles of life, death, and the unseen forces that govern existence? Beyond its symbolic and functional aspects, Chand Baori also raises questions about the construction techniques employed by its builders. Each stone block fits precisely into place, without the aid of modern machinery, forming a grid-like structure of steps, landings, and pavilions that has resisted centuries of erosion. How were these enormous stones quarried, transported, and arranged with such precision? Were their methods now lost to time, or a level of craftsmanship that required knowledge passed down through generations, a knowledge that balanced practicality, aesthetics, and cosmic alignment? And what was the significance of the niches and carvings? Decorative, ritualistic, or perhaps a coded message for those initiated into the beliefs of the builders? Speculation extends further when considering the astronomical possibilities embedded within the architecture. Some researchers suggest that the stepwell's orientation may have been designed to track the movements of the sun, casting shadows that marked specific days, months, or seasonal changes. Could Chand Baori have functioned as a kind of subterranean observatory, where the alignment of steps, shadows, and light were used to understand celestial cycles critical for agriculture, ritual, and timekeeping? This integration of practical and symbolic purposes underscores the sophistication of the society that created it. A people attuned not only to survival in a harsh environment, but to the rhythms of nature and the cosmos. The stepwell's social dimension is equally compelling. Stepwells, like Chand Baori, were not merely utilitarian. They were communal spaces, where people gathered to collect water, perform rituals, and socialize. The architecture thus combines practical necessity with social cohesion and spiritual meaning, creating a space that resonates with human life in multiple dimensions. What role did the spiritual or symbolic aspects of the stepwell play in daily life? Did the descent into its depths mark a transition from the ordinary world to a sacred space, a liminal journey that connected villagers to forces beyond their comprehension? Finally, the enduring mystery of Chand Baori lies in the intersection of the known and the unknown. We can understand the practical functions of the Stepwell, appreciate its artistic details, and analyze its engineering brilliance. Yet there is a lingering sense that its full significance, the spiritual, symbolic, and perhaps even mystical knowledge encoded within its structure, remains just out of reach. What inspired a society to pour such immense labor and ingenuity into a single sunken structure? Was it purely functional, purely ceremonial, or something far more complex, a synthesis of human needs, spiritual beliefs, and cosmic observation? As we stand at the edge of Chand Baori, gazing into its dizzying depths and tracing the intricate lines of its 1,000 steps, we are left with a profound sense of wonder. The Stepwell is more than a reservoir. It is a monument to human ingenuity, devotion, and mystery, a silent testament to a people who sought to harness water, space, and spirit in a single extraordinary creation. What secrets still lie hidden in its shadows, in its geometry, or perhaps in the intentions of the builders themselves? And how much of Chand Baori's full meaning remains buried, awaiting the eyes and minds of those willing to explore the intersection of human skill, belief, and the mysteries of the world? Emerging from the intricate geometry of Chand Baori, with its steps descending like veins into the earth, we now journey across continents to southern Africa, to a land of rolling hills and ancient stone, where one of the continent's most enigmatic monuments rises in quiet grandeur: the Great Zimbabwe Ruins. Perched atop granite outcrops and stretching over a vast area of the savanna, these ruins speak of a civilization that flourished centuries ago, its achievements monumental, its mysteries enduring. Here, the scale of human ambition is made tangible in stone, yet the intentions and knowledge of its builders remain elusive, whispering questions across the centuries. The Great Zimbabwe Ruins are composed primarily of massive, dry stone walls, built without mortar, yet enduring for centuries through precise craftsmanship. The largest of these structures, the Great Enclosure, is a vast elliptical wall of stone that curves in harmony with the natural contours of the hill it crowns. Its height, which reaches nearly 11 meters in some sections, and its thickness, exceeding 5 meters in places, create a sense of both grandeur and permanence. Surrounding the great enclosure are smaller walls, towers, and dwellings, forming a sprawling urban complex that covers some 720 hectares. Walking through these ruins, it is impossible not to sense the weight of history pressing down, the collective effort of a people whose social organization, technical skill, and vision exceeded what many would expect of the era. Archaeologists date Great Zimbabwe to approximately the 11th to 15th centuries CE, attributing its construction to the ancestors of the Shona people. The ruins reveal a society capable of large-scale urban planning, advanced stone masonry, and sophisticated trade. Artifacts recovered from the site, copper and bronze objects, beads of glass and shell, Chinese porcelain, attest to its connections with distant lands, suggesting that this was a thriving center of commerce as well as culture. Yet while much is known about the materials and objects found here, the purpose of the monumental structures themselves remains a source of debate. Why invest so much labor into walls without mortar? Were they purely defensive, or did they serve symbolic or ceremonial functions as well? The Great Enclosure, in particular, defies simple categorization. Its curved walls and the mysterious conical tower within suggest ritualistic or spiritual significance, possibly related to leadership and the sacred authority of rulers. The conical tower, whose function is still debated, may have been a symbol of prosperity, a granary, or even a sacred object representing fertility or the cosmos. Some researchers have proposed that the entire complex functioned as a royal palace and administrative center, where political power, spiritual practice, and social hierarchy converged. Yet this interpretation, while compelling, leaves lingering questions. Why are there no inscriptions or detailed records explaining its construction or function? What symbolic meanings did the walls themselves hold for those who built them? Adding to the intrigue is the precision of the stonework. Each stone was carefully shaped and positioned to create walls that have survived centuries of erosion, earthquakes, and human activity. The builders did not use mortar, relying instead on careful placement and gravity to hold the walls together, a feat that continues to impress modern engineers. Could the techniques used at Great Zimbabwe have involved knowledge that was deliberately restricted to a select group of craftsmen or spiritual leaders? And if so, what other forms of knowledge, lost to time, might have been encoded in these structures, waiting for discovery? The spatial arrangement of Great Zimbabwe also suggests a profound understanding of social and cosmological order. The placement of the great enclosure at the heart of the complex, surrounded by smaller stone structures and dwellings, implies a hierarchical system in which rulers, priests, or elite members occupied a central, elevated position, both physically and symbolically. Some scholars have speculated that the walls and pathways may have guided visitors along deliberate routes, creating a ritual journey that mirrored spiritual or social hierarchies. Was this an early form of urban planning intertwined with religious or symbolic principles? How did the design of these structures shape the lives and worldview of the people who inhabited them? Yet, despite centuries of excavation and research, many mysteries remain. How were these massive stones quarried, transported, and assembled without modern tools? Some estimates suggest that constructing just the great enclosure required the coordinated effort of hundreds of workers over decades, possibly even generations. What motivated such a sustained, enormous endeavor? Was it the assertion of political power, the worship of ancestors or deities, or some combination of practical and spiritual purposes? Further complexity arises from the cultural and mythological significance of the site. Oral traditions among the Shona people speak of Great Zimbabwe as a place of sacred power, a seat of kings, and a center of spiritual authority. These stories hint at layers of meaning that archaeology alone cannot fully reveal. Could the structures have been intentionally designed to encode cosmological or ancestral knowledge, understood only by initiates or those trained in esoteric practices? And if so, what dimensions of human understanding might be hidden in the placement of walls, the curvature of towers, or the orientation of enclosures toward the sun, stars, or natural landmarks? Even the external perception of Great Zimbabwe has been shrouded in mystery. For centuries, outsiders questioned how such a monumental complex could have been built by indigenous African peoples, reflecting both misunderstanding and cultural bias. Modern scholarship, however, affirms the ingenuity and sophistication of the builders, revealing a civilization capable of architecture, astronomy, trade, and governance that rivaled contemporaneous societies elsewhere in the world. Yet, the deeper symbolic purposes of the ruins, the spiritual, ritualistic, and perhaps metaphysical intentions, remain largely speculative. Standing amidst the weathered stones of Great Zimbabwe today, one cannot help but feel a mixture of awe and curiosity. The ruins evoke a civilization of remarkable ingenuity, power, and vision, a society that left behind a monument both tangible and enigmatic. The purpose of the walls, the meaning of the towers, and the intent behind the arrangement of enclosures continue to elude definitive explanation. What knowledge, beliefs, or cosmological principles were encoded in this extraordinary architecture? And what other secrets of Great Zimbabwe remain hidden, silently waiting beneath the stones, waiting for future generations to uncover the full story of a civilization whose voice continues to echo across time? Emerging from the vast stone remnants of Great Zimbabwe, with its walls curving across the African savanna like silent echoes of a forgotten civilization, we now turn our gaze toward the rugged coastlines of Brittany, France, where one of Europe's earliest and most enigmatic megalithic monuments awaits, the Cairn of Barnenez. Perched upon a windswept hill overlooking the sea, this vast Neolithic structure rises like a monumental stone ship frozen in time. Its weathered stones, some towering over 3 meters high, radiate an aura of permanence and mystery, hinting at human ingenuity and ritualistic purpose thousands of years before written history would illuminate the continent. The Cairn of Barnenez is remarkable not only for its size, but for its age. Radiocarbon dating places its construction around 4,800 BCE, making it one of the oldest stone monuments in Europe. Stretching over 70 meters in length and rising to a height of 8 meters in parts, the cairn contains 11 burial chambers, intricately designed and carefully aligned within the massive stone mound. From the outside, it appears as a rough, irregular heap of boulders, yet closer inspection reveals a deliberate and precise architectural layout, with passages leading to chambers that once housed the remains of the dead. Each chamber, constructed with massive stone slabs and covered with earth, reflects a sophisticated understanding of structural stability and spatial planning, knowledge remarkable for a Neolithic society. The cairn's location on a slight hill overlooking the sea is no coincidence. Its builders may have chosen this site for ritual, symbolic, or astronomical reasons, positioning the monument to align with the rising or setting sun during key seasonal events. Some archaeologists suggest that the cairn may have been designed to interact with the cycles of light, shadows, and celestial bodies, though the exact alignments remain a subject of debate. Was the mound intended to honor ancestors, to serve as a marker for the solar year, or to connect the living and the dead through cosmic observation? The precision of its construction hints at a society attuned not only to the land but also to the skies above. Inside the burial chambers, one finds evidence of both the practical and the sacred. Human remains were discovered alongside ceramic vessels, flint tools, and decorative objects, suggesting that the dead were not simply interred but accompanied by offerings. These artifacts provide a glimpse into the lives and beliefs of the Neolithic communities that built Barnenez, indicating complex rituals surrounding death and remembrance. The chambers themselves are carefully constructed, with stones fitted so precisely that some sections have remained remarkably intact for nearly 7 millennia. How did these ancient builders, without modern tools, manage such feats of engineering and planning? Was their knowledge or technique passed down through generations, now lost to time? The sheer scale of the cairn raises further questions about the social organization of its builders. Coordinating the labor required to transport massive stones, shape them, and assemble them into a cohesive structure would have demanded careful planning, cooperation, and leadership. Did this monument serve as a community project, uniting clans under a shared spiritual or political vision? Or was it commissioned by an elite class, perhaps a religious or ruling group whose power was reinforced through the construction of an imposing stone edifice? Some scholars have also noted the presence of megalithic art carved into certain stones within the cairn, patterns, spirals, and motifs whose meaning remains elusive. Were these symbols purely decorative, or did they hold sacred significance, encoding beliefs, myths, or instructions for rituals? Could they reflect an early form of symbolic communication, a precursor to writing, or a way to mark the sacredness of specific chambers within the mound? Each carving invites speculation, as the context in which it was made has long been lost to time. The Cairn of Barnenez also sits within a broader network of megalithic monuments across Brittany, a region dotted with menhirs, dolmens, and other cairns. This concentration of monumental stonework suggests a cultural or ritualistic landscape, where communities may have shared knowledge, traditions, and symbolic language. What unifying beliefs connected these early builders? Were the cairns themselves part of a spiritual or territorial map, guiding the living through the land while honoring the dead? Despite the wealth of evidence, the cairn's true purpose continues to provoke questions. Was it primarily a necropolis, a site for the dead, or did it serve multiple functions? Astronomical, ceremonial, and social. Did the Neolithic builders intend for Barnenez to endure for millennia, to witness countless generations and bear silent witness to the cycles of human life? The interplay between practical construction and symbolic resonance suggests a sophistication of thought that challenges modern assumptions about prehistoric societies. As we move through the corridors and passages of the cairn, peering into the chambers and running our hands along the worn stones, it becomes clear that Barnenez was more than a burial site. It was a monument of intention and belief, a deliberate statement of human presence and purpose that continues to intrigue. And yet, for all we can observe and measure, much remains hidden. The full significance of the cairn, its rituals, its alignments, its symbolic language, may never be entirely understood. Standing before the cairn of Barnenez today, the wind sweeping across the Breton coast, one cannot help but feel the quiet weight of its history. Its stones hold stories of life and death, of human ingenuity, and of a connection to the cosmos that predates recorded time. What exactly did the builders hope to communicate across the ages? What secrets remain encoded in the placement of the stones, in the carvings on the walls, and in the shadowed chambers that have seen millennia pass? The cairn of Barnenez endures, its mysteries intact, silently inviting us to question, explore, and wonder what ancient knowledge may still be hidden within its timeless embrace. Emerging from the windswept coasts of Brittany and the ancient cairns of Barnenez, we now cross continents and millennia to the heart of ancient Egypt, where the city of Thebes rises from the desert like a timeless monument to human ambition and devotion. Among its many wonders stands the Temple of Karnak, a sprawling complex of stone that stretches over 2 square kilometers, a labyrinth of towering columns, monumental gateways, and hidden sanctuaries. For over 3 millennia, Karnak has fascinated and mystified visitors, not only for its sheer scale, but for the enigmas encoded within its stones, symbols, and alignments, enigmas that continue to elude even the most dedicated scholars. The Temple of Karnak is unlike any single monument. It is a complex of temples, chapels, pylons, and obelisks, built and expanded by successive pharaohs over centuries, beginning in the Middle Kingdom around 2055 BCE and continuing into the Ptolemaic era. The central precinct, dedicated to Amun-Ra, the sun god, is dominated by the Great Hypostyle Hall, a forest of 134 colossal columns, each carved with intricate hieroglyphs and towering over 21 meters. Walking among these columns, one is struck by a sense of vertigo and reverence, as if stepping into a living forest of stone, where light and shadow shift dramatically with the passage of the sun. Every surface tells a story. Pharaohs carved in triumph, deities etched in detail, and inscriptions chronicling victories, offerings, and rituals. Yet, even with all this recorded knowledge, questions remain. What did the builders intend to convey beyond the obvious? And what secrets lie hidden in the temple's hidden chambers and alignment with the cosmos? Karnak is not only a temple of worship, but a testament to the Egyptian mastery of architecture, engineering, and astronomy. The temple's orientation and design suggest a deliberate alignment with the sun, particularly with the winter and summer solstices. Some researchers propose that certain pylons and courtyards were positioned to mark solar events, casting light along axes that illuminated statues, sanctuaries, or sacred chambers at precise times of the year. Could these alignments have been used as a calendar for ritual purposes? guiding the timing of festivals, agricultural cycles, or ceremonial processions? Or might they have served a more mystical function, linking the earthly and divine realms in ways we are only beginning to speculate about? Adding to the intrigue are the obelisks and statues scattered across Karnak. Each obelisk, carved from single pieces of granite and often weighing hundreds of tons, rises skyward as though reaching toward the gods themselves. The construction and transportation of these massive stones remain a marvel, especially considering the technology available at the time. How were these enormous monoliths quarried, moved, and erected with such precision? Were their techniques known only to a privileged class of builders or priests, methods now lost to time? And what deeper meaning did the Egyptians attach to the act of raising these obelisks, beyond the visible demonstration of power and devotion? The hypostyle hall itself holds additional mysteries. The massive columns are decorated with hieroglyphs that are often duplicated, layered, or even erased, creating an almost palimpsest-like record of centuries of religious, political, and cultural change. Why would later pharaohs erase the work of their predecessors, sometimes partially preserving and sometimes entirely obliterating inscriptions? Was this an act of political dominance, a ritual purification, or a symbolic rewriting of history? The temple, in this sense, is both a historical document and a puzzle, holding clues to the intentions, beliefs, and power dynamics of a civilization that valued permanence and legacy. Beyond the monumental architecture, the hidden sanctuaries and subterranean chambers of Karnak remain largely unexplored. Archaeologists have discovered corridors, wells, and storage areas beneath the temple complex that defy easy explanation. Some of these spaces may have been used for sacred rites, while others could have held ritual objects, sacred texts, or even astronomical instruments. What secrets are concealed in these depths, shielded from the light of day for thousands of years? Could the temple's hidden spaces contain knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, or ritual practices that has been lost to history? There are also more speculative interpretations surrounding Karnak. Some researchers suggest that the temple's scale, orientation, and symbolism encode cosmological or metaphysical principles, reflecting an understanding of the heavens that was intimately tied to religion and power. The Egyptians may have viewed Karnak not just as a physical space, but as a map of the universe, with its pylons, courtyards, and sanctuaries representing the movements of celestial bodies, the cycles of life and death, or the divine order itself. Could the temple have served as a gateway to transcendence, a place where priests and pharaohs sought to commune with the gods and align human society with cosmic rhythms? The enduring mystery of Karnak lies in this intersection of practical, spiritual, and cosmic significance. While we can appreciate its engineering brilliance, its religious devotion, and its political symbolism, the full meaning of Karnak, the knowledge encoded in its design, the rituals performed within its sanctuaries, and the intentions of its builders, remains largely hidden. Even after centuries of study, the temple continues to challenge our understanding, reminding us that ancient civilizations often operated on a level of sophistication and spiritual depth that defies modern assumptions. As we walk through the shadowed corridors of the Temple of Karnak, past the towering columns, the sun-drenched courtyards, and the hidden chambers that whisper secrets of millennia, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and humility. The temple stands as a monument to human ingenuity, devotion, and the quest for transcendence, a place where stone and spirit intertwine in a timeless dialogue. What knowledge remains embedded in its walls, waiting for those with the patience and insight to uncover it? And what does Karnak reveal, not only about the Egyptians who built it, but about the enduring mysteries of human aspiration, belief, and our relentless desire to touch the divine? Leaving behind the monumental corridors and sacred alignments of Karnak, We now journey across continents once more to the mist-laden peaks of the Andean Mountains in Peru, where one of the most iconic and enigmatic sights of the ancient world rises from the clouds, Machu Picchu. Perched nearly 2,400 meters above sea level, on a narrow ridge flanked by steep valleys and rushing rivers, Machu Picchu presents a landscape that is at once breathtaking and confounding. Its terraces cascade down the mountainside like frozen waves of stone, while its temples, plazas, and dwellings cling precariously to the ridges, demonstrating an engineering mastery that continues to inspire awe. Here, the intersection of nature, architecture, and human ingenuity creates an environment that seems deliberately designed to both reveal and conceal, inviting exploration while guarding its secrets. Machu Picchu is generally attributed to the Inca civilization, believed to have been constructed in the mid-15th century during the reign of Pachacuti, one of the empire's most ambitious rulers. The city, built entirely from precisely cut granite blocks, showcases the Incas' skill in ashlar masonry, a technique in which stones are shaped to fit together without mortar. This precision not only gives the structures remarkable stability in a region prone to earthquakes, but also conveys a sense of seamless harmony with the surrounding landscape. Walking through the sunlit plazas and narrow stairways, it becomes immediately apparent that Machu Picchu was more than a city. It was a carefully orchestrated harmony of human design and natural topography, an urban and spiritual landscape in perfect balance. One of the most mysterious aspects of Machu Picchu is its purpose. Scholars have long debated whether it functioned as a royal retreat, a ceremonial center, an astronomical observatory, or some combination of these roles. Certain structures, such as the Temple of the Sun, suggest a deeply spiritual function, aligned precisely with the solstices and equinoxes, allowing sunlight to illuminate sacred stones during pivotal moments of the year. Other areas, like the Intihuatana stone, a carved pillar atop a terraced platform, appear to serve as a celestial marker, tethering human ritual to the movements of the sun. Was Machu Picchu primarily a site for elite worship, or did its orientation and construction reflect a more profound cosmological understanding? A map of the heavens encoded in stone? The layout of Machu Picchu itself seems to embody a philosophy of integration between human activity and the natural world. Agricultural terraces hug the mountainsides, not merely to feed the population, but to stabilize the steep slopes, prevent erosion, and channel water efficiently. Sacred precincts and residential areas are arranged according to natural contours and views, suggesting that the placement of each building and stairway was both practical and symbolic. Did the Incas intend for Machu Picchu to be a microcosm of the universe, where earthly life, agricultural sustenance, and divine order coexisted in deliberate harmony? Despite centuries of research, many questions remain. The city was abandoned abruptly in the 16th century, likely during the Spanish conquest, though the invaders never found it, leaving it largely untouched. Why was such a complex and resource-intensive site abandoned so suddenly? Some scholars suggest political upheaval, disease, or strategic retreat, but the absence of contemporary records leaves the true reason unresolved. Could Machu Picchu have served as a hidden sanctuary, designed to protect sacred knowledge, treasures, or ceremonies from outsiders? And if so, what insights about Incan cosmology and governance might have been lost with its desertion? The construction techniques themselves remain remarkable. Massive granite blocks were quarried from nearby sources, then transported and shaped with tools and methods that modern researchers still study with fascination. How did the Incas achieve such precision without iron tools or wheeled vehicles? Some propose the use of simple levers, ropes, and sand polishing, yet the exact methods of moving multi-ton stones across steep, uneven terrain remain partially speculative. Was there a level of engineering knowledge that was tightly controlled within elite circles passed down orally and through practice now largely lost to time? Machu Picchu also raises profound questions of symbolism and ritual. Temples, plazas, and stairways are often oriented to mirror natural features. Rivers, peaks, and ridgelines become extensions of human architecture. Sacred areas, such as the Temple of the Three Windows, may have served as sites for solar observation, ancestral worship, or elite ceremonies. Could the city itself have functioned as a ritual journey, guiding visitors along paths that mirrored spiritual ascent, from the agricultural terraces below to the ceremonial heart above? And what role did sound, shadow, and light play in this experience, given the city's dramatic verticality and the interplay of sunlight across terraces and stones? Finally, the sheer location of Machu Picchu adds to its enduring mystery. Its isolation, hidden between towering mountains and dense cloud forest, suggests a deliberate choice, both defensive and spiritual. The city seems almost conceived as a secret, visible only to those who approached with knowledge of its paths. Was Machu Picchu a retreat for royalty, a pilgrimage site for initiates, or a place where the earthly and celestial orders converged? And what other discoveries might yet lie beneath its terraces, concealed in stone or soil, silently awaiting the attention of those willing to explore the past? Standing on the sun-drenched terraces of Machu Picchu, looking out over the Urubamba River and the enveloping Andean peaks, one is struck by the precision, ingenuity, and artistry of its builders. The city is both a monument to human achievement and a puzzle that continues to defy complete understanding. Every wall, staircase, and terrace invites reflection on the lives, beliefs, and knowledge of those who shaped this extraordinary place. Yet the full meaning of Machu Picchu, its purpose, its secrets, and the depth of its spiritual and astronomical significance, remains just beyond reach. What did the Incas hope to communicate across centuries through stone and landscape? And what truths, still hidden in shadow and earth, might one day emerge from the clouds to illuminate this timeless city? Emerging from the mist-shrouded terraces of Machu Picchu, with its precarious stone dwellings clinging to the Andean ridges, we turn now to the rolling green hills of Pembrokeshire, Wales, where one of Britain's most enigmatic megalithic monuments quietly endures. Pentre Ifan. Set upon a gentle rise, overlooking fields that stretch toward the horizon, this Neolithic dolmen is at once understated and monumental. Its massive capstone, balanced with breathtaking precision atop slender supporting stones, casts long shadows across the surrounding landscape. The sight is both awe-inspiring and disorienting, as though nature and human hands conspired to create a structure that defies simple explanation, inviting us to ponder the minds and rituals of the people who built it thousands of years ago. Pentre Ifan dates to around 3,500 BCE, placing it among the earliest and most remarkable examples of megalithic architecture in Britain. The structure consists of a single massive capstone, estimated to weigh over 16 tons, resting upon 3 upright stones. Beneath this immense roof lies the remnants of a burial chamber, evidence of its original function as a tomb or communal burial site. Yet, the dolmen's elegance, scale, and placement suggest that it was designed to impress, to convey significance beyond its utilitarian purpose. Walking among the stones, one is struck by the sheer audacity of the design. How did a Neolithic community lift and balance such a massive stone using only rudimentary tools and manpower? And why choose this particular location on an elevated ridge that dominates the surrounding countryside? The capstone itself is the most arresting feature of Pentre Ifan. Suspended high above the ground, it seems almost impossibly balanced, its weight distributed across narrow contact points with the supporting stones. Modern engineers marvel at the ingenuity required to achieve such stability, without the use of mortar or metal reinforcement. Was the dolmen built purely as a tomb, or did the lifting of the capstone hold ritual significance, a symbolic act representing the ascent of the soul, the power of the ancestors, or a connection between earth and sky? Some researchers suggest that the dolmen may have been intentionally designed to evoke a sense of cosmic alignment, oriented in relation to the rising sun or other celestial markers, though the precise alignments remain debated. Evidence of human activity at Pentre Ifan extends beyond the physical structure. Archaeological investigations have uncovered flint tools and pottery fragments, indicating that the site was more than a resting place for the dead. These artifacts suggest ceremonial practices, feasting, or offerings performed by communities over generations. Was the dolmen a focal point for social cohesion, where clans came together for ritual observances, or was it reserved for a select few, perhaps a ruling or priestly class? And what messages were encoded in the choice of stone, the orientation of the chamber, and the monumental scale of the structure itself? The surrounding landscape adds another layer of intrigue. Pentre Ifan occupies a prominent ridge, offering commanding views of the surrounding hills and valleys. This elevated placement may have served both practical and symbolic purposes, marking territory, asserting authority, or creating a visible connection between the living and the dead. Could the dolmen have functioned as a landscape marker, a guidepost for travelers, or a ceremonial horizon aligned with seasonal events? And if so, what knowledge of astronomy, geography, and ritual practice did the builders possess that allowed them to integrate monument and environment so seamlessly? Despite centuries of study, the methods used to construct Pentre Ifan remain largely speculative. The Neolithic builders would have had no metal tools, no wheeled vehicles, and no written instructions. Scholars theorize that simple levers, wooden sledges, and carefully coordinated labor were used to move and raise the massive capstone. Yet the precision with which the stone was positioned, its stability and balance, suggests an understanding of mechanics and geometry that continues to impress modern observers. Could there have been specialized knowledge, passed down through generations of builders, now lost to time? And if so, what other techniques, symbolic meanings, or cosmological principles might have been encoded in the construction of this and similar dolmens? Pentre Ifan also prompts reflection on the relationship between life, death, and landscape in Neolithic culture. The dolmen's burial chamber, though small compared to the massive stones above, signifies a reverence for the ancestors. By creating such an imposing structure, the builders may have been attempting to anchor memory in the landscape, transforming death into permanence, and ensuring that future generations would acknowledge the presence and significance of those who came before. Yet, the absence of written records leaves the full scope of meaning open to interpretation. Did these monuments serve as spiritual centers, territorial markers, or symbols of cosmic understanding, or perhaps all three simultaneously? The mystery deepens when considering Pentre Ifan alongside other megalithic sites across Europe. Dolmens, passage graves, and stone circles often share common features: massive stones, precise orientations, and symbolic carvings, yet each retains its unique character. What unifying ideas or beliefs connected these distant communities? Was there a shared understanding of cosmology, ritual, or social hierarchy, transmitted across landscapes and generations? And how much of that knowledge has been lost, leaving only these enduring stone witnesses to hint at human intention? Standing before Pentre Ifan today, one is immediately struck by its silent majesty. The capstone, precariously poised yet immovable, the surrounding ridge stretching into the misty Welsh countryside, and the faint traces of ancient human presence all combine to evoke a sense of wonder. This is more than a tomb. It is a monument to human ambition, ingenuity, and belief, a tangible connection to minds and hands long vanished. And yet, despite all that is known, or theorized, about Pentre Ifan, the site retains its profound mystery. How did its builders achieve such precision? What symbolic or spiritual truths were they encoding in stone? And what secrets, hidden in the landscape or etched into the very mechanics of the dolmen, remain waiting for the eyes and insight of those who come to ponder it millennia later? Leaving the green hills and megalithic stones of Pentre Ifan behind, we now cross the Mediterranean to the sun-scorched landscapes of Cyprus, where one of the most intriguing and well-preserved prehistoric settlements in Europe quietly endures. Khirokitia. Perched on a gentle slope overlooking the Moroni River Valley, the site presents a landscape of circular stone foundations, clustered closely together like a labyrinth frozen in time. From above, the settlement appears as a mosaic of stone rings, each marking the footprint of homes built over 6,000 years ago. There is a strange, almost haunting intimacy in this arrangement, as if the inhabitants, though long gone, deliberately sculpted a community to foster closeness, ritual, and shared life. Khirokitia dates to the Neolithic period, around 7,000 to 5,500 BCE, making it one of the earliest known organized settlements in the Mediterranean. The houses, built from mud brick walls atop low stone foundations, are primarily circular, ranging from 3 to 7 meters in diameter, with a single low entrance. In some cases, a central hearth occupies the interior, suggesting both practical and communal functions. The settlement's density and uniformity imply a high degree of planning and social coordination. Yet, while we can observe the structure, the motives and methods behind it remain enigmatic. Why were the homes circular rather than rectangular, as seen in other contemporary settlements? Was this a stylistic choice, a practical adaptation to environmental conditions? Or did it carry symbolic significance, perhaps relating to notions of community, continuity, or cosmology? Excavations at Khirokitia have revealed an intricate understanding of domestic life, as well as the early development of social organization. Hearths, storage pits, and built-in seating suggest careful attention to communal living, while the repetition of house designs hints at shared cultural values and perhaps strict social norms. Yet, there is little evidence of hierarchical structures or centralized leadership, raising questions about how such a settlement could maintain cohesion and stability over centuries. Did ritual, tradition, or shared belief play a central role in maintaining order, in lieu of formal authority? And what cultural or spiritual principles guided the arrangement of homes, pathways, and communal spaces? The circular form of the houses itself has invited speculation. Some archaeologists suggest that circular architecture encourages social equality, as there are no corners or divisions that impose hierarchy within the home. Others propose that the shape may have had cosmological significance, reflecting celestial patterns, seasonal cycles, or ancient symbolic frameworks that linked human life with the rhythms of the natural world. Could the roundness of these structures represent a philosophical worldview in which life, death, and the environment are conceived as part of an eternal cycle? Khirokitia's construction techniques are equally compelling. The use of local stone and mud brick, combined with careful layering and shaping, allowed the buildings to withstand the test of time and the region's occasional seismic activity. Roofs, though perishable, may have been supported by timber or reed frameworks, demonstrating an understanding of structural balance. How did Neolithic builders achieve such stability and uniformity without written plans or advanced tools? Was knowledge transmitted orally across generations, or were there specialists whose expertise guided the settlement's construction? The precision and consistency suggest not only practical skill, but also collective intention and cultural knowledge meticulously preserved and enacted. In addition to domestic architecture, Khirokitia offers tantalizing hints of ritual and symbolic practice. Burial pits placed beneath floors or just outside the homes often contain carefully arranged human remains, accompanied by simple grave goods. These interments suggest that life and death were intimately linked in daily life, and that ancestors played a visible role in the spiritual and social world of the living. What beliefs underpinned these practices? Did the placement of graves indicate reverence, protection, or continuity between generations? And how much of the settlement's layout and architecture was informed by spiritual as well as practical considerations? The overall layout of Khirokitia also invites interpretation. Homes cluster tightly together, connected by narrow passageways and shared courtyards, creating an almost organic network of communal life. Was this density purely for defense, to conserve resources, or did it serve to strengthen social bonds? How did daily life unfold in such an interconnected space where privacy and community had to coexist in delicate balance? The settlement's endurance over centuries implies a remarkable understanding of both environmental management and human cooperation, yet the subtleties of social interaction, ritual observance, and governance remain largely hidden. Despite centuries of archaeological study, Khirokitia continues to pose questions that resist definitive answers. Why was the settlement eventually abandoned? Did climatic change, resource depletion, or social transformation lead to its desertion? And what knowledge about construction, agriculture, ritual, or community was lost when its walls crumbled and its inhabitants moved on? Some have speculated that Khirokitia represents not just a physical settlement, but a window into a worldview, a society in which daily life, spiritual belief, and environmental harmony were inseparable. Standing among the remnants of circular foundations, peering into the compact spaces where families once cooked, slept, and worshipped, one cannot help but feel a connection across time. Khirokitia is more than a collection of stones. It is a monument to human ingenuity, resilience, and the search for meaning in both the tangible and intangible world. And yet, despite our study and admiration, much remains elusive. The full purpose of the settlement, the subtleties of daily and ritual life, and the knowledge encoded in its architecture linger beyond reach. What secrets remain buried beneath the earth, preserved in the echoes of human activity, waiting to illuminate a Neolithic society whose voice continues to whisper across the centuries? Leaving behind the sun-warmed terraces and circular homes of Khirokitia, we now journey northward to the windswept rocky isles of the Orkney Archipelago in Scotland, where one of Europe's oldest and best-preserved Neolithic dwellings quietly endures, the Knap of Howar. Perched on the windswept coast of the island of Papa Westray, its low, stone-built structures hug the edge of cliffs overlooking the North Sea, their sturdy walls weathered by millennia of wind, rain, and salt spray. From a distance, the buildings appear modest, almost unassuming. Yet as one draws closer, the architectural precision, enduring solidity, and haunting simplicity reveal a remarkable human achievement, hinting at the lives, ingenuity, and beliefs of people who lived more than 5,000 years ago. The Knap of Howar dates to around 3,700 to 3,500 BCE, making it among the oldest preserved stone houses in northern Europe. Unlike the circular dwellings of Khirokitia, the Knap of Howar consists of rectangular stone houses, connected in a linear arrangement, with thick walls that supported timber and thatch roofs. Interiors feature hearths, sleeping platforms, and storage spaces, suggesting a careful attention to daily life, comfort, and function. Despite their apparent simplicity, the homes demonstrate a sophistication in design, balancing practicality with resilience against harsh maritime conditions. The builders of Knap of Howar understood the challenges of their environment and created dwellings that have survived for millennia, raising profound questions about the technical and cultural knowledge available to Neolithic societies. Archaeological excavations have uncovered traces of domestic life, stone tools, pottery fragments, and animal bones, revealing a society that relied on farming, animal husbandry, and marine resources. These findings suggest that Knap of Howar was not a ceremonial site, but a living settlement where families endured the seasonal rhythms of the North Sea winds and the changing landscape. Yet, even in this ostensibly practical settlement, questions remain. Why did the inhabitants choose this exposed coastal location, where storms and erosion constantly threatened their homes? Was proximity to the sea purely for sustenance and transportation, or did the cliffs and ocean hold symbolic or spiritual significance for these early inhabitants? One of the most striking aspects of the site is the durability of its construction. The thick stone walls, carefully mortared with clay, have withstood more than 5 millennia of weather. Doorways and partitions are built with precision, creating an enduring, functional interior space. The arrangement of the houses, in close alignment along a central axis, suggests intentional planning, perhaps reflecting social organization, family structures, or communal cooperation. Did this layout also serve a ritual or symbolic purpose, structuring daily life around concepts of hierarchy, kinship, or spiritual order? The simplicity of the Knap of Howar belies its complexity, hinting at knowledge that was both practical and cultural, intertwined in ways we are only beginning to appreciate. The hearths within each dwelling offer another layer of mystery. Positioned centrally, these small fires provided warmth, a place to cook, and a focal point for social activity. Yet their placement may also reflect more than convenience. Could the hearth have had ritual significance, acting as a center for spiritual life within the home, a locus for ancestor veneration, or a site for seasonal ceremonies tied to the rhythms of the land and sea? And how did such domestic practices relate to the broader network of Neolithic settlements scattered across Orkney, including ceremonial sites like Skara Brae or the Ring of Brodgar? The proximity of Knap of Howar to these larger ceremonial landscapes raises tantalizing questions. Was the settlement part of a broader social or ritual network, connecting everyday life with spiritual practice, seasonal cycles, or astronomical observation? The inhabitants lived in a world where the line between survival, community, and belief was often fluid, and where architecture could simultaneously serve practical, symbolic, and social functions. Could the careful arrangement of houses and the enduring materials used in construction reflect an understanding of cosmic order or sacred geography encoded subtly into the very fabric of daily life? Despite its modest appearance, Knap of Howar continues to defy simple interpretation. How did these early farmers achieve such structural resilience in a harsh coastal environment? What traditions, skills, and oral knowledge guided their building practices? And how did the interplay of environment, architecture, and human activity shape the culture and worldview of the inhabitants? While archaeologists can reconstruct the physical layout and daily practices of the settlement, the deeper intentions, beliefs, and social meanings remain largely speculative. The site's longevity and preservation are themselves remarkable. Unlike many other Neolithic settlements, Knap of Howar was abandoned gradually, yet it remained intact enough to provide modern observers with an almost unparalleled window into prehistoric life. Walking along its low stone walls, tracing the outlines of hearths and platforms, one senses the presence of those long gone, as though their daily routines, hopes, and concerns linger faintly in the air. The site embodies a delicate balance between permanence and transience, a human attempt to assert order, continuity, and meaning against the relentless forces of nature. Standing today on the windswept cliffs of Papa Westre, gazing at the Knap of Howar's enduring stone houses, it is impossible not to feel a profound sense of connection across time. Here, in this exposed corner of northern Europe, human ingenuity, adaptation, and subtle artistry converge to create a place that is simultaneously functional, resilient, and mysterious. And yet, despite extensive study, many questions remain unanswered. What knowledge, lost to time, enabled the construction of these enduring homes? Did the settlement hold spiritual or symbolic meanings beyond the practical? And what secrets, perhaps embedded in the stones, the alignments, or the surrounding landscape, are still waiting to be discovered by those willing to listen to the whispers of the past? Leaving behind the windswept stones of the Knap of Howar, with its enduring Neolithic homes clinging to the northern edge of Europe, we now journey south across the Mediterranean to the sun-soaked plains of Sardinia, Italy, where one of the most enigmatic prehistoric monuments in Europe quietly rises from the landscape, Monte Dakoti. From a distance, the site appears as a low, rectangular mound, but as one approaches, its stepped silhouette becomes apparent, a truncated pyramid, rising in deliberate tiers above the surrounding fields. Its form is unlike any other prehistoric structure in the Mediterranean, evoking questions about its builders, its purpose, and the ideas that shaped it over 5 millennia ago. Monte Dakoti is believed to date back to around 4000 to 3500 BCE, placing it in the late Neolithic period. Unlike megalithic tombs or domestic settlements, this monument appears to have been constructed as a ceremonial platform, a raised stage for ritual activity. The structure's most striking feature is its stepped ramp, leading to the flat summit, where evidence suggests an altar or sanctuary once stood. Archaeologists have long noted parallels between Monte Dakoti and other early platforms and ziggurat-like structures in the Near East, raising questions about cultural connections, migration, or independent innovation. Did the Sardinian builders draw inspiration from distant lands, or did they develop this monumental form independently, guided by similar symbolic or ritual imperatives? The construction itself is remarkable. The mound is built from limestone blocks and earth, carefully arranged to create stable tiers, each level slightly narrower than the one below. The ramp, wide and carefully aligned, guides the eye upward, giving the monument a sense of ascent, a movement from the earthly plane to the sacred summit. Was this architectural gesture symbolic, representing the path from the mundane world to the divine? Or was it purely functional, allowing participants in ceremonies to approach the altar? The precision of the stonework, achieved without metal tools or advanced machinery, suggests a deep understanding of engineering, weight distribution, and construction planning, raising questions about the knowledge and social organization of the builders. Archaeological evidence points to Monte Dakoti's use as a ritual center, though the exact nature of these rituals remains elusive. Excavations have revealed traces of animal sacrifice, burnt offerings, and pottery, hinting at ceremonial activity tied to fertility, celestial cycles, or ancestral veneration. The platform's orientation may have aligned with astronomical events, such as solstices or equinoxes, though precise measurements are still debated. Was the monument designed to capture the rising sun on sacred days, projecting light across the summit in a deliberate symbolic display? Or did the act of ascending the ramp itself constitute a ritual journey, a performance of devotion intended to elevate participants both physically and spiritually? The monument's isolated location adds to its mystery. Unlike settlements or tombs, Monte Dakoti sits in a relatively open plain, visible across the landscape, but not adjacent to a permanent village. This raises questions about its audience. Was it designed for the surrounding community, for visiting groups, or for a small elite cadre of ritual specialists? And why choose this particular site, rather than a hilltop or riverside location, both common choices in Neolithic ceremonial architecture? The combination of visibility, prominence, and isolation suggests deliberate intention, an understanding of landscape as symbolic as it is functional. Comparisons to other ancient platforms highlight additional enigmas. Some scholars note similarities between Monte Dakoti and Mesopotamian ziggurats, or other stepped ceremonial structures in the Near East and North Africa? Did early Mediterranean cultures share knowledge across vast distances through migration or trade, or are these architectural parallels independent expressions of shared human ideas about ritual and cosmology? Could Monte Dakoti represent a local manifestation of a broader Neolithic worldview, a template in stone connecting earth and sky, community and deity? Beyond its architecture, Monte Dakoti invites speculation about ritual practice, social organization, and symbolism. Who ascended the ramp and for what purpose? Were offerings made individually or communally? Did the stepped form represent a metaphorical hierarchy, guiding participants closer to the divine as they moved upward? And how did these rituals shape the social and spiritual life of Sardinian Neolithic communities? Despite extensive study, the answers remain tantalizingly out of reach, leaving only hints etched into the stone and soil. The endurance of Monte Dakoti is itself remarkable. Millennia of wind, rain, and human activity have left the stepped mound largely intact, a silent witness to a civilization whose written record is non-existent. The monument embodies a dialogue between permanence and impermanence, between human ambition and the passage of time. Standing at its base, looking up the ramp toward the flat summit, one senses not only the physical scale of the structure, but also the intellectual and spiritual vision required to conceive it, to mobilize labor, and to inscribe meaning into stone. As we trace the lines of the stepped platform and imagine the ceremonies that once unfolded on its summit, Monte Dakoti challenges modern assumptions about prehistoric life. It is more than a pile of stone. It is a manifestation of human creativity, spirituality, and knowledge, a structure designed to endure both physically and conceptually across thousands of years. And yet, despite what we know, or think we know, much remains hidden. What inspired its form? What secrets of ritual, astronomy, or social organization lie buried beneath the stones? And how much of the monument's true significance has been lost to the passage of time, leaving only the outline of a structure that continues to whisper of human aspiration, ingenuity, and the quest to touch the divine? Leaving the sun-baked plains of Sardinia and the enigmatic stepped summit of Monte Dakoti behind, we turn now to the rugged hills of southeastern Spain, where one of the most compelling examples of Bronze Age defensive architecture quietly survives: La Bastida. Perched atop a commanding hill in the Murcia region, this fortified settlement commands sweeping views of the surrounding valleys, rivers, and arid landscapes. Even today, its imposing earthworks, stone walls, and strategic terraces evoke a sense of vigilance and foresight, as if the builders sought not only to protect their people, but also to assert dominance over the terrain itself. The ruins hint at a society intensely concerned with security, hierarchy, and survival. Yet the full story of La Bastida remains tantalizingly elusive. La Bastida is associated with the El Argar culture, which flourished in southeastern Iberia during the early Bronze Age, roughly 2,200 to 1,500 BCE. Unlike open settlements or nomadic encampments, La Bastida was heavily fortified, with a combination of stone walls, ramparts, and defensive ditches designed to repel invaders and control access. The settlement covers several hectares, with narrow streets winding between rectangular stone houses, carefully planned terraces to stabilize the hill, and multiple gateways controlling the approach to the inner precincts. The layout suggests not only practical concerns about defense, but also a sophisticated understanding of urban planning and social organization, indicating a community capable of coordinating large-scale construction and labor. The defensive structures themselves are impressive. Thick stone walls, some over a meter wide, enclose the settlement, while steep embankments and terraces amplify natural slopes, creating formidable obstacles for would-be attackers. Gateways were deliberately narrow, forcing outsiders to approach single file, while towers or elevated platforms may have provided vantage points for observation or defense. Was the construction of such elaborate fortifications a response to real and persistent threats, or did it also serve as a display of power and prestige, projecting authority over neighboring territories and rival communities? The presence of weapons, including bronze daggers and arrowheads, reinforces the notion that warfare, or the threat of it, played a central role in the lives of La Bastida's inhabitants. Beyond defense, La Bastida offers glimpses into domestic and social life. Excavations have uncovered densely packed homes, often with multiple rooms, hearths, and storage spaces, suggesting families lived in close quarters. Some structures contain traces of high-status objects, including finely crafted pottery, metal ornaments, and imported goods, hinting at social differentiation within the settlement. How did these hierarchical structures function in daily life? Was power concentrated in the hands of a small elite who controlled trade, agriculture, and defense, or were social roles more fluid than the architecture alone can reveal? The terraces, defensive walls, and elevated position of La Bastida may also have had symbolic or ritual significance. Like other Bronze Age sites across Europe, the settlement's design integrates natural topography and human construction, suggesting a worldview in which landscape, security, and spirituality were intertwined. Did the elevation serve purely defensive purposes, or was it also chosen to position the settlement closer to the heavens, perhaps for observation, ceremonial practices, or a symbolic connection between rulers and deities? And how did the community's architecture shape social interaction, ritual observance, and the perception of authority within and beyond the settlement? Despite centuries of study, many aspects of La Bastida remain enigmatic. The reasons behind its eventual decline are still debated. Was it abandoned due to external threats, resource scarcity, or social upheaval? Or did changing trade routes, climate conditions, or internal power struggles precipitate its demise? Furthermore, the sophistication of the settlement's fortifications and urban layout raises questions about knowledge transfer, engineering skill, and the role of specialized labor. How did Bronze Age communities, without written records or advanced machinery, plan, coordinate, and execute such ambitious constructions? The settlement's defensive systems also invite speculation about regional interactions and conflicts. La Bastida was part of the broader El Argar cultural network, known for metallurgy, trade, and territorial organization. Did these communities engage in constant warfare, necessitating such robust fortifications? Or were these structures as much about deterrence and social signaling as about actual combat? Could the settlement have functioned simultaneously as a military stronghold, a trade hub, and a ceremonial center, blurring the lines between practical, economic, and symbolic purposes? Standing amidst the ruins today, the remnants of stone walls, terraces, and narrow streets convey a palpable sense of vigilance. One can imagine sentries stationed atop ramparts, the movement of inhabitants through winding streets, and the careful orchestration of daily life under the shadow of constant alertness. The settlement embodies both human ingenuity and the fragility of civilizations, capturing the tension between ambition, survival, and the inexorable passage of time. It is a place where stone speaks of strategy and organization, yet the people's beliefs, motivations, and fears remain largely invisible to us. La Bastida's enduring mystery lies in its intersection of the practical, social, and symbolic. The settlement reveals a community capable of remarkable engineering and organization, yet the intentions behind its construction, the nuances of its social hierarchies, and the rituals that may have accompanied daily life remain elusive. Was the settlement's prominence primarily defensive, or did it encode messages of status, cosmology, or sacred order? How did its inhabitants perceive the relationship between land, sky, and society? And what secrets, hidden beneath layers of stone and soil, might still be waiting to illuminate the life and culture of one of Europe's most intriguing Bronze Age communities? As we trace the lines of La Bastida's terraces and fortifications, contemplating the lives that unfolded within its walls, the site stands as a silent witness to human ambition, ingenuity, and resilience. It challenges us to consider not only how early societies survived and organized themselves, but also how they expressed identity, power, and belief through architecture and landscape. And yet, despite centuries of study, La Bastida continues to guard its deepest secrets, leaving us to wonder, what knowledge, ritual, or social wisdom has been lost to time, and what might yet be revealed to those who approach these stones with curiosity, patience, and reverence. Leaving behind the fortified terraces and sun-baked hills of La Bastida, with its imposing stone walls and echoes of Bronze Age vigilance, we now turn to the rugged coastline of southwestern Turkey, where the sheer cliffs of Lycia rise dramatically from the Mediterranean. Carved directly into these vertical rock faces are the Lycian rock tombs, monuments that appear to defy both gravity and human expectation. From a distance, they seem almost suspended, their intricately sculpted facades poised hundreds of feet above the valleys below. The sight is both breathtaking and disorienting, as if the land itself had been coaxed into hosting human ambition, leaving behind structures that speak silently across millennia. The Lycian rock tombs are part of a vast necropolis dating primarily from the 4th century BCE, though some examples may predate this period. These tombs were hewn directly from limestone cliffs, often in the form of miniature temples or elaborate houses, complete with columns, pediments, and carved reliefs. The facades mimic the architecture of Lycian homes and public buildings, suggesting a symbolic intention. The tombs were designed not merely as resting places for the dead, but as eternal homes that replicated the life and status of those interred within. This architectural mimicry raises profound questions. Why elevate these tombs so precariously above the valley floors? Was it a demonstration of power, a spiritual safeguard, or a symbolic ascent toward the heavens? Accessing the tombs presents its own mystery. Many are reachable only by narrow ledges or treacherous climbs, a fact that suggests both deliberate protection and ritual exclusivity. Were the tombs meant to be secluded sanctuaries for the elite, visible to all but accessible only to the few? Did the perilous ascent reflect spiritual beliefs, a metaphorical journey from the earthly plane toward a divine realm? And what techniques did Lycian builders employ to carve massive chambers and intricate facades into solid rock without collapsing the cliff faces, using tools that would seem primitive by modern standards? The interiors of the tombs vary from simple chambers to complex multi-room structures, sometimes with stone sarcophagi and niches for offerings. This diversity hints at social stratification, as wealth and status likely dictated the scale, decoration, and positioning of each tomb. Some facades feature highly detailed reliefs depicting animals, warriors, or mythological scenes, blending artistry and memory into a singular stone tableau. Were these images meant merely to honor the dead? Or did they serve a larger ritualistic or protective function, intended to guide, guard, or commemorate the journey of the soul? The tomb's sheer verticality and strategic positioning above inhabited valleys cannot be ignored. By placing the dead high above the living, the Lycian builders created an omnipresent visual reminder of lineage, authority, and continuity. These tombs dominate the landscape in much the same way as citadels and fortresses, yet their purpose is not military. It is spiritual, symbolic, and social. What cultural or cosmological understanding drove such audacious placement? Did the ancients view elevation as a bridge between human and divine, a way to ensure that ancestors watched over the living and remained eternally visible? The Lycian rock tombs also hint at technological sophistication. Carving these monumental structures required precise measurement, planning, and execution. Architects had to account for rock stability, depth, and weight, ensuring that the carved chambers would endure centuries of erosion and seismic activity. How did the Lycians achieve such feats without modern engineering knowledge? Were there specialized craftsmen whose techniques were passed down orally or through apprenticeship, forming a hidden lineage of skill that has since vanished? Beyond their physical and technical marvels, the tombs provoke deeper reflection on ritual and belief. Lycian society appears to have invested enormous resources and effort into honoring their dead, linking architectural permanence with spiritual continuity. Did these tombs serve as stages for ceremonies that are now lost to time? Were offerings placed within the chambers for sustenance in the afterlife, or were the facades themselves seen as vessels for protection, identity, or cosmic alignment? The intentionality embedded in every carved column, every sculpted relief, suggests that the builders viewed death not as an end, but as a continuation of presence, power, and memory. Comparisons with other cliffside burial sites around the world, such as Petra in Jordan or the rock-cut tombs of India, raise further mysteries. Was there a shared understanding across cultures that height conferred spiritual or symbolic advantage, or did these civilizations independently arrive at similar solutions, responding to comparable environmental and philosophical challenges? And if knowledge did transfer across regions, what networks of trade, migration, or cultural exchange enabled such ideas to spread across continents in the ancient world? Standing today at the base of a Lycian cliff, gazing upward at the facades carved into the vertical stone, it is impossible not to feel a profound sense of wonder. The tombs project both human ingenuity and mystery, a delicate balance of artistry, engineering, and symbolic thought. They are monuments to memory, social structure, and belief, yet they retain secrets that resist full understanding. How exactly were these tombs constructed so precisely? What specific beliefs or cosmologies guided their positioning and design? And what stories of the people who built, lived, and died in Lycia are hidden within the silent stone, waiting for discovery? The Lycian rock tombs endure as a testament to human creativity, ambition, and the desire to transcend mortality. They are more than burial sites. They are architectural messages to the living, a dialogue across time that challenges our understanding of ancient societies. And yet, for all that is visible, much remains unknown. The precise methods of construction, the full nature of ritual practices, and the deeper symbolic meanings woven into every facade continue to elude us. What else remains hidden, etched into the cliffs, silently awaiting the patient eye and mind of those who seek to understand?